Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Trajan. He's Melvin Izzle. You have to bear with me. I'm still just reeling as from Viper and saying that we were amazing before. He's finally stopped burying me on air. What a feeling. But Lucent, speaking of burying, just put London United in the ground in that last series, and now standing before them is an old enemy in Viperio.
Absolutely. And as we head into this one, we are looking at some exciting gaming.
Yeah. We have some incredibly exciting gaming. I mean, last series, exciting is a word for it. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say it was good or decent or well played, really, but exciting is definitely one thing I would say.
Yeah, flippy is one way to describe it. While we were watching, there was definitely a variety of emotions going back and forth. I'm not spiteful for the channel points we threw away to hope for a 3-game series, but at the end of the day, we find ourselves once again, actually, in this playoff split with Viperio versus Lucent.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is a pretty big match for them here. This match is for the second UKLC promotion series spot. Demise Academy, of course, having sewn up the first one already, so this is one of the biggest points that teams are playing for right now, coming up right now, and Viperio, they're looking pretty good. They surged at the end of the season, they managed to beat Demise Academy, they're currently, you know, they went down to them in the playoffs, but they're still looking pretty good, and Lucent are kind of having to come up from below. They had a rough end of the last season, and now they're trying to fight their way back in to make that late game run.
Finishing off the split with an 0-4 record, not exactly how you want to be heading into playoffs, but they have managed to recover after their first match against Viperio, who originally knocked them into losers bracket.
Yeah, absolutely, and both of these teams have quite a history, specifically this matchup in the UKEL. Viperio, obviously the first ever UKEL winner, but then after that, next season, they went and end up last. Then the next season, they're fourth. Now they're in, you know, potentially second in the regular split, battling for a chance to get that crown back on their heads to be the first ever 2-time UKEL champions. And Lucent, of course, they've got Vanguard, they've got Wilhelm. These are both ex-UKEL champions themselves. So teams trying to fight to start some sort of hashtag Kings, Dynasty, Legacy, you know, all that G2 LEC stuff.
They're really ready to get it rolling, and as we take a look into this game, it's going to be pretty stressful if you're in the boots of Lucent, considering you've just come off of, like we were alluding to, a pretty, we'll stick with exciting. Exciting is the word we'll use to refer to last series. It was a 2-0 in their favour, but Lord, it did not feel like it. That was some back and forth gameplay, London putting up one hell of a fight. And as we head into this one, we need to be looking primarily at how teams opt for comping, because one of the reasons that Viperio got the better end of Lucent in the original best of 3 they played was just because Viperio were more willing to play to their full team and actually have a bit more cohesion in their drafts, whereas if we look at Lucent, at least last time they played, it was not the same story.
Yes, they did have these, you know, big plays, these star moments for the players, but they couldn't bring it together as a 5-man unit to get the win. But coming off that last series, people like Nice Guy Dahmer, who I'm looking at right now, that Ziggs came back, and it came back in a big way. It was really tough for Viperio to deal with it last time. They got the win, sure, but, you know, it's mainly just because Nice Guy Dom couldn't literally 1v9 the whole thing. He tried his damnedest to do so. I really want to see what Killikin personally has in the pocket to deal with this, because, yeah, the control mage pool doesn't really punish Ziggs that hard.
Especially in NA. Actually, we see Demonte as one of the main people that will actually willingly pull out this Ziggs often, and it is usually an answer to these Syndras, Victors, these kind of champions. Specifically in that game that Lucent played versus Viperio with that Ziggs, there was one point where it was Nice Guy Dom, and they literally autoed, and killed Killigan from 100 to 0 later on as Victor. So this is not a pick you could disrespect, and as we saw in the last game for Lucent, when they've got a Jace, when they've got these tools around them, they can really play to this comp now.
Yeah, for sure. They seem to have found out how to exploit it properly. As we check in with the first few bans, it's mostly jungle focused. Johnny Rico, of course, has been an absolute stormer for Viperio this whole season. And they've had the Hecarim taken away, he's had the Lilia taken away. The ever-present Graves is still on the table. I think he's got 4 Graves games in the playoffs already just for that player.
Pivotally so. The fact they're let through does make you wonder what Lucent have as an option, because they know for a fact that Johnny Rico, 4 out of 5 games in the playoffs on Graves, will probably just pick that. So are you opting to take this Volibear we saw Wilhelm on, or will it be the Udyr who has been more of the ever-present meta pick?
Yeah, has survived the expanding of the jungle pool, has Udyr, and Wilhelm gonna first pick, lock that one in. Little Vayne hover, sending a message to the Vayne God himself so far, and honestly, both Vayne God and Kaz, they also fill similar roles in their teams. They're both the late game win condition. A lot of gold and pressures funneled onto these players, and they have shown many times that they're able to step up and carry from that position.
And there is a hover on that Volibear we were talking about as another powerhouse in the jungle. They got some pretty noticeable buffs on this patch, making it so they can clear very healthy, very quickly, and also secure objectives. But right now this is just going back and forth. I do wonder what the logic would be to take away this Vayne, because it is solely a takeaway. There's no reason you would ever take it otherwise.
Yeah, and he is going to default to the Volibear at the end there. So Johnny Rico not being the farming carry right now. This is the ganker. This is the enabler. He's kind of taking the Wilhelm role today, and it's been matched up with Killikin's Orianna. So this is not a Ziggs punish. This is not a Zillion punish. This is not a Twisted Fate. Well, they've banned the Twisted Fate, but you know, this is not a champion that's designed to smash the lane. This is going to be value good. It's going to be value mid and late. And nicely done. Maybe kind of free to do what he wants here.
You say free to do what they want, but that Vayne they've been hovering. Now there's Vayne and Ziggs.
Yeah.
You have to go between them, and they opt to take Nice Guy Zom's Ziggs over the Vayne. That will probably not make it way through. But when you want to pair it, they gotta just keep hovering this Vayne until it's banned, I swear. So, unlikely to see it actually just locked in here, especially into that Ziggs. But point being, they almost just forced Lucent to make a decision between, we know these were your most successful picks. And when you want to pair with either of them, the Thresh on Zerg was one of the pivotal tools that almost mixed up this comp and made it actually work when you have these kind of immobile ADCs. We saw Vayne God on the Jinx last game, and that was another powerhouse that could potentially come out in the second rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. Zerg's Thresh has looked oh so good so far in the playoffs. He's going to go back to it again, not surprising, but Kaz going to take the Xayah, and that was the champion that he was basically 1v9ing on, clutching out the games for Viperio against, I think it was against Lucent, right? We saw this massive Xayah performances, so he's gone back to a comfort power pick as well. Both teams, I think, looking pretty comfortable in general so far. The only real difference has been the Volibear for Johnny Rico, and let's see where they choose to go with the bans now. They're taking away Rengis' Aatrox, I like that one, and the Nautilus is taken away for Haas.
Something I want to point out here, though, as we head into the second rotation, everybody on Viperio's squad, relatively middle range. None of these have super far backline access, and when you have Ziggs plus Thresh and an Udyr who could do effectively peeling if they really need to, this is something you need to be paying attention to. Will they pick up something like the Malphite maybe? Will they flex it and then have a Zac or something ridiculous for Johnny Rico? That one's unlikely. But point being, they need to find engage somewhere. We might even see the Rakan paired with Xayah, which, to be fair, this couple hasn't been together for a while.
What about the Haas Blitzcrank though, my friend? What about that? Yeah. That's what I want to see. I always just want to see the Haas Blitzcrank. The games he's pulled it out, he's looked like I was like, why aren't you picking it more, man? You're just doing so much work on it.
And there goes that Malphite not going to offer that backline access. And I think the Blitzcrank is a good answer here. Into Thresh is something that if you ever trade hooks, normally these champions like Nautilus, Pike, Thresh, there's always like a rock, paper, scissors of whose hook beats whose.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, Blitzcrank will win with the hook. You just need to be able to hit them.
Simple. Just hit them, forehead. Just hit your hooks, you know, and then it's all good. So we'll see what they choose to go to. Oh, there it is! Perfect. Thank you. I am so happy. Okay, we've got the Blitzcrank coming in now. Vayne God's got a decision to make. Blitzcrank puts a lot of threat on him, but he's played a lot of champions, 5 unique champions so far in the playoffs, and you know, the Vayne is there, Tristana's there, Kai'Sa's there. What's he going to go for?
This Vayne is, while those picks right now, they don't have the same support. You do not have a Lulu with them. You do not have, in their case, a Yuumi they paired it with last week. But you don't have all these enchanters that could superpower the Vayne. So this is just Vayne God on their own back saying, no. You can have tools. You can have a lot of mid-range things. A lot of mid-range things are a problem for Vayne because they can answer her when she goes for the dive-in. They have a point-and-click stun. They have a point-and-click knock-up. And then they have excellent follow-up CC. So this is just Vayne God saying, it's in the name. Come on now.
The God has stepped up and is going to have to step up in this game if it's going to work out. As you say, so much threat coming onto this pick. They're going to round off the draft with a nice, cool, calm and collected Ornn pick in that top side. So Infor going to get the counter pick here, but Infor not traditionally a player that is exploiting counter picks. This is very much a bit of a weak side, a flexible player that will just fit himself into whatever Viperio need, but the Gnar here could get a little bit of an advantage up here for sure.
I don't dislike it. I was more so thinking they might opt for the gangplank, just checking that wasn't banned, as it is something that Infor has pulled out in the playoffs, and would have made a decent answer, just the zone control that that champion can offer, opting for Gnar, who is a similar principle, just a bit less reliable in the way they go about it.
Sure. So we've got frontline everywhere for Viperio. Gnar, Volibear, even Blitzcrank with the shield can take a lot of punishment up there. Killer can also follow it up, and Kaz dealing the DPS from the backside. It's a big old 5v5 comp that they've developed. And on the other side, it's not too dissimilar. They've got the Vayne, they've got Ornn, you know, they've got Thresh. So if these two teams come at each other, all 10 members around a Dragon Pit clashing into each other, who are you kind of giving the edge to just based off draft?
Based off draft, I think it's very setup reliant for both teams, because I would say just generally I favour Viperio, but that's solely because it is less reliant on all these different factors, because the Orianna Ball on top of any of those aforementioned engages, or the fact that you have Haas on this Blitzcrank, can just, without context, win you a team fight straight up. Yeah. Whereas for Lucent, if you take a look through the entire thing, they need to be setting up. They need to get Ziggs into these areas, which they can fight for, but then it's a lot more of almost like a flowchart of, okay, you take the area with Ornn and Udyr, Ziggs pokes, Vayngod kills everybody, and that's it. And they don't really have as many options as that of Viperio's comp.
Yeah, sure. So we'll have to see how it works out, of course, but Viperio looking pretty nice here. Lucent with so much comfort on their side. It's kind of hard to split right now, but I think Lucent, at the very least, I think they are going to have to clean up the gameplay a bit if they're going to be able to take this game versus Viperio. They've got a fairly simple comp to play out, right? A 5v5 teamfight comp, and if you're not walking into the wrong places, you're not giving Ziggs so much value off the minefield, maybe, you're not kind of letting Vayngod run rampant over a teamfight, could be harder, I think, for Viperio, or for Lucent to get the value here, and they're going to have to play smart. They're not just going to have to play hype.
I think patience is the key factor here for Lucent, especially when you're against the Gnar, such a predictable engage. You can telegraph so clearly when they're going to go Mega, and that means it's a no-go to fight. If they can actually play around this, and just play around slowly working their way into areas, not getting memed by Blitzcrank hooks and just losing the game off of that, they have a very coherent comp that can work. It's just a lot more of a challenge, and especially based on what we saw against London, patience was not really something that Lucent looked to do. They went for one of those Barons. Yeah, you remember that Baron? That was certainly...
That was something. But I mean, speaking of Barons, maybe they've got a decent matchup here. Viperio are not the most successful Baron team in the league. In fact, they have given up the most Barons of any team in the league. They gave up 13 Barons in 14 games while going 10-4. I'm not sure how that's even possible, honestly. It's kind of insane that they gave up that many Barons. Maybe their late game clutch factor is just insane, but, you know, if Lucent want to try and fight around the Baron, Viperio have proved they are not the best around this objective either.
It's certainly something that you can punish this team with, and when you look to how Viperio want to conduct themselves in the game, it kind of varies based on their comp, but generally they do like to put focus on the very first objective, typically the first dragon, to almost delay the enemy team from getting to these soul points, build up to an adequate amount of items, 2 to 3 items kind of mark, especially this game is when their comp is going to be at its peak. And then from that, you almost just want to clean sweep them, end off of a fight or two. Don't let the game go too far from there, especially against an Ornn, Ziggs, and a Vayne.
Yeah, man, the late game is just disgusting from Lucent here. That is going to be humongous damage coming through here. It also means that I'm going to have to try and remember what all the ornaments are called. So, quick revision section for me, but we'll see how that comes through. And, I mean, the Ornn is going to be pretty important to this comp and can be important to this comp despite not winning the lane, which is pretty important here. So, I think that Rengis, instead of going for the lane dominant kind of pick, like a Jace, like an Aatrox, he's gone for something a lot more settled back and just farming for late. Do you think this is a good decision for them, or would you like to see him maybe take a bit more of a firm hold on this top lane?
I think just looking at how they ended up finishing off that draft with the Gnar last pick, there were other options, and it does almost just show putting your feet in the water slowly. You're testing the temperature before you see. After you've just watched 2 games from Lucent and got a rough idea of their form, now it's more so the kind of thing of when you're in this kind of best of 3 environment, you will see what is the lowest amount of effort we need to put in to beat you. Because that almost just then sets you up for dominance throughout the rest of the series if you don't need to pull out any tricks in game 1.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'm not expecting I Won't Lose to be super heavily punished here. In4 is a weak side player. Viperio is a weak side top team. They have the joint lowest first held rate of any team, and In4 has the lowest kill participation at 15 minutes at 17% of any top laner. Nothing's happening up there in general, right? So I Won't Lose should be potentially kind of chilling, kind of happy to just farm it out and grow bigger, but now we've got Johnny Rico on the Volibear. This is a bit of a stylistic change, and they've got the Gnar, which should be able to win this top lane. We might see some new tricks coming out of Viperio, if not from Lucent.
I think as soon as you're talking about new tricks, you can see Haas just lurking in that dragon pit right there, with the ward in the tribush, ready to hook over any unsuspecting Vaynes. They most certainly will be Vayne spotting in this early game. And just look at this, they're lurking, because if they go to sit in this tribush, based on the wards, though, it looks like Lucent got theirs down first, so they're not going to fall for this. They know exactly what Viperio are planning, and that does give a little bit of information over to say, hey, because they're lurking around pulling this trick, they probably aren't leashing, which instantly indicates them maybe they're getting a leash topside. So that gives Wilhelm the knowledge they need to try and at least get stuff done in these early few levels on the Udyr.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, from Johnny Rico's perspective on this Volibear, doesn't really need the leash that much, because obviously Volibear's jungle clear is now significantly better, specifically with the Sky Splitter changes.
Absolutely. For people that have not seen the patch notes, we did see a little bit of Volibear last series, but basically their Sky Splitter does a ton of damage now to every jungle camp, uncapped up to 750, before it was 150, meaning that it basically just accelerates the clear exponentially, and when he goes for that second munch, he now gains full healing from it, so expect a very healthy bear ganking a lane near you.
Exactly, and I guess with the picks just this good, even Johnny Rico, the Graves aficionado, will start picking up and playing it. It's just that nice. Wilhelm obviously dipped into it last series as well, so could become a contested pick over the course of this one. We see the hooks coming through, and this time Zerg is the winner here. A nice 3-hit combo from Vanguard gets that passive procced, and they're looking solid so far.
Does look like it's 1-0 to Zerg in the hook battle of this lane. Is going to come out relatively even. Point to note, though, is because both junglers started topside, they will both be around here at roughly the same time. Wilhelm on this Udyr, it's still Udyr, guys. They still clear the quickest, so you know. They are going to have access to this crab, and with Vanguard and Zerg getting the push, it does mean that there is unlikely to be a contest from Viperio short of a hook over a wall.
Yeah, see how that goes forward. And mid lane, of course, potentially could have an effect there, but with Orianna versus Ziggs, this is mostly just clearing waves, TPing back. Nice Skodom actually saving his TP there as well, going straight into the early tier, so that's going to be a scaling up to that 2-item spike for him coming through. There's Wilhelm on the crab, Johnny Rico still on the grump. It's going to be a free take.
And potential here for Wilhelm to actually double crab here. It looks like they're just invading to scout out where they are. He's going to run into bear on bear right now.
The double stun comes through, but Volibear wins this one out. The 1v1 power of the champion is very large. A Lantern saves Wilhelm from a potential Haas hook, and he gets the information, but loses the trade.
Crucially, because Wilhelm did go for that check right now, Johnny Rico is going to be able to get back on the map and potentially, with this top lane push in his favour, actually take that second crab up there, meaning there is not double scuttle over to the Udyr. As you can see just by the runes, Phase Rush is not that good at the early scrap compared to the press the attack from Johnny Rico.
Yeah, absolutely. Those do not quite stack up equally there. Is there a point where Wilhelm is going to be able to contest Johnny Rico, or is Volibear just always going to be the stronger duelist out of the team?
The flashing back and forth.
The high-speed action camera from Phil there. Johnny Rico has arrived. You see the Sky Splitter's down. It's a bit cooldown off, but once he got pressed the attack, once he's got the W on, Wilhelm does not win that trade at all. And there's the top lane presence that you mentioned, Melvin Izzle. So, second crab goes to Johnny Rico, evens that one up across the map.
And in answer to your question, in theory, Johnny Rico should usually be ahead, as this might actually be a bit more of a result. Has not opted to take that hook. They have a massive minion wave, so it's a really scary prospect to get hooked into this, because you can't trade back here, otherwise you just get beaten down to nothing. So, for Volibear into Udyr, unless Wilhelm opts for something like the recently buffed Sunfires, which doesn't really work with how the champion likes to operate, no, Johnny Rico should have the upper hand pretty much up until ornaments start becoming a factor.
Sure. So it is going to be on Wilhelm to be the enabler and get his lanes in a position where they can start winning the fights, and that is how Wilhelm loves to operate. Going to be very comfortable on that style. We have the Mountain Dragon spawned as well. Both junglers now back to clearing. Mid lane still nothing has happened whatsoever, so I'm going to be looking at this bot lane as well. They've got a lot of ways to start fights, and these guys like to play it around the AD carries. Maybe getting some advantage down there could lead to that first dragon.
And Reclamation was talking a bit about it last game of this is a similar lane where nothing should really happen. It's now at that level 6 mark when things can start to occur. Kills may happen here, and that's because they both have decent jungle enabler tools. With just regards to the bouncing bomb or the shockwave from Orianna coming out to almost set up and zone the other mid laner into a gank, but in isolation, these two are just going to throw abilities back at each other. Not much interesting, and it's really, like you say, around this bot lane. Again, primarily Haas. They're the main person who could get anything done in these first 2 levels, and we haven't seen much yet.
Yeah, but I am waiting with bated breath and will expect there to be some sort of action for sure coming out of these bot lanes. Statistically, it's just likely to happen. Wilhelm has arrived on the bot side, but Johnny Rico once again is there. It's going to be a 3 versus 3 if he up for it, and I don't think he wants to. Going to go straight back to his own jungle.
It looks like they didn't actually spot Wilhelm out straight away. Otherwise, that could have been a pretty scary collapse for the point-and-click stun into Blitzcrank hook. That would have been likely the death of Wilhelm right here. No Wilhelm Scream to be seen, as Johnny Rico will secure this first dragon.
Yep, he's going to start that one up. Wilhelm back to base. Haas going to help him with it. So that's going to be picked up by Viperio. They are still very slightly down in gold, mostly located in that mid lane matchup, I expect. Nice guy Dom having the slight edge there. But given that we've had both teams, it's been a calm early game so far. Only 7 minutes in, but there's been no kills, barely even any summoners really being burst, right? Just a couple of a TP maybe for Nice Guy Dom. So if the game continues like this, who's going to be better going into this mid game? Who's going to be more comfortable when the fights have to start breaking out? Ooh, that was close.
Every time.
Ooh,
so
boy.
I would say Viperio. Certainly this is exactly how they usually go about the game. They did manage to secure that first dragon. Isn't going to put as much priority on the future ones, for at least the next couple, but just in of itself, it does favour them heading in because Blitzcrank will offer a disgusting amount of pressure around the Rift Herald if they rotate over there. Or even, because they're on red side at this Dragon Pit, it becomes very scary to try and take these objectives when you could just be pretty much yeeted over a wall and sent to your death, so yeah, like that.
Finally gets it there, but the Lantern is ready, and a counter hook from Zerg with the flayback means the trade is going to be more or less even. There's the value that Thresh brings. He can disengage, he can engage, he's got the damage. What doesn't this champion have?
An escape, typically. That is the main problem
for
that
himself.
They have. Yeah. They can escape for the enemies, I guess, that's true, but as we take a little look at the junglers right now, one bear is most certainly faster than the other, as Johnny Rico may be about to just jump straight into this action.
Yeah, flies over the wall with the blast cone and starts hitting the Herald himself, but now this is a 3 versus 3 developing here. Killikin is there with the shield, has to watch out for the bombs over the wall in 4 though. They might just turn onto the Ornn and force the flash. The stun lands, but he has to escape. He's got no mana, no health. I think Lucent have to give this one up.
And critically, this Herald did not reset off of that. It looked like they would just barely go out of the range, but Wilhelm, while they're the faster clear on this on the Udyr, if they don't get the objectives when they get there first, the champion is effectively just worst volley bear at this point in the game, while later on Wilhelm can offer more one-point utility in a fight. Johnny Rico, we know how much they play Graves. They are more than competent with pumping out maximum DPS, and I expect similar principles on their volley bear this game.
yeah, you can't take that out of the player for sure, despite what he is going with. Looking at this top side as well, the way the matchup's progressing, Imrelu still has a 10 CS lead up here, and there's a wave coming into him. So, despite the fact that this isn't really a winning matchup for him, Ornn is still doing very well here. When we were looking at how these players kind of operate, we would say that maybe Infor is probably the CEO of weak side in this league, given how Viperio tend to play the game. But I feel like Rengis, he's probably the CFO of weak side. This guy has a great goal difference of 15, plus 400 average, and even right now in the losing matchup, he's still winning it.
They are doing a very good job on this Ornn. The only real weakness being that flash they had to blow right there, but that was because other people came to, you know, interfere with the top side. They were doing just swell on their own, guys. Leave them alone. And on this Ornn, they can scale up to an insane degree, as they aren't going to get... Ooh, they might just get to freeze.
Yeah. So, Infor, could he be punishing this harder? He seems to be giving him a lot of space right now.
Considering they don't seem to have vision on where Wilhelm is, it looks like this is the best they can do to like maintain true weak side dominance of never putting a risk anywhere. No feet out of place right now. As we see, actually, I Won't Lose has changed to the Ignite, so that instantly telegraphs to you saying, jungler's probably here. I might play a bit safe for a little bit.
That is a nice spot there for sure. So we can check him back on bot side. Kaz and Haas once again with wave control, but Vanguard and Zerg not falling behind by any means. We've got Johnny Rico on this bot side here once again. Wilhelm going for the lane gank on that top side. We'll have to see how these junglers can make that work.
One thing crucially that I'm just going to note here, that the fact that they didn't get the first Rift Herald means they cannot get maximum collection for this Ziggs. Because if you get to throw down a Rift Herald, chunk out 2 plates, and then Ziggs just executes the tower, that is a disgusting amount of gold acceleration you could get, but because Johnny Rico has it now, they are going to be able to potentially funnel a lot of money into Kaz down here, as there is nobody in range to help, no teleports available, no Ziggs ultimate available. This is just an isolated play between these 3 to 4 members.
And now we have a potential fight over the next scuttle. Killikin and Johnny Rico cleaning out the vision. Bot side might be having a bit of a scuffle down there, actually. Flashes and Summoners being burnt, and Zerg goes very low. It's first blood for Kaz. Vanguard has dropped into the final hour. Wilhelm's there to support, though, and they might be able to turn it back. Instead, they choose to back away as they know that Johnny Rico and Killikin are close by. So Viperio, finally, they break this deadlock and get that kill.
With all those feathers on the floor, nothing Vanguard can do to outplay that. They just have to back off. And with this Demolish coming down, they are actually going to be able to kill this turret by the looks of it. But the Ziggs ult comes in to clear the way.
Oh, it's a hook from Haas, gets Vanguard, but he can't follow up on it. The stun to Wilhelm, and he's tanking the tower. Flashes away, Vanguard does fall to Johnny Rico. Now they've disabled it, there's the first turret blood to boot. And Johnny Rico is going to push them away. Viperio, once again, on the winning side of that play.
Little bit greedy from Johnny Rico at the start there to keep the ult going as Haas takes aggro, pulling Vanguard. Did not end up going too well for Lucent right there, as they're going to fall down 2 dragons now, 2 kills, and if we take a look at that gold, it's going to be just about 2k as well.
Yep, 2 dragons on top of it. Viperio doubling up everywhere, and they're going to be so happy with this right now. Kaz has got the gold. Johnny Rico's got a bit of acceleration too. The win conditions late game are both happy with the gold they've received. And I mean, we haven't seen anything out of the Ziggs just yet, but early on we probably wouldn't expect to. So I'm going to be watching Nice Guy Dom and see, okay, you know, Viperio, they've won the early game so far. They've managed to play around that. You're going to have to step up in the late game to make it work.
We know they absolutely can. A little bit of counter jungling. You have a Thresh though, so you're never really under that much threat. And we know Nice Guy Dom can pilot this pick later on. And something to note is that they did change the way that Liandry's works on this patch. It makes it much, much better against health stackers, but much worse against squishies. When the enemy has, like you're talking about, 3 tanks, pretty good.
Yep, for sure. I like to see the Liandry's coming through here. We did see him with the Ludens in the last game. But that was against a bit of a squishier comp for sure. And I mean, the Ludens change as well, quite interesting for the Ziggs, given that if you get a minefield under someone, every time you deal damage to enemy champion, you get time off that Ludens passive. So you get a big minefield in a fight, or big, wide, multi-man bombs, you're going to have so many Ludens passives proccing.
Very importantly right here, Killikin does manage to keep Nice Guy Dom stuck in this lane, doesn't get to teleport back in and collect those 2 plates with the satchel. So that is going to be a bit more gold just denied from this Ziggs early, as I believe that blue was just hooked mid-fight. Yeah, just yoinks it. In comes the call of the Forge God. Don't want to let him get this one for free. Flashes used by Johnny Rico and the ult onto this Volibear. Has to use the ultimate, the Stormbringer, to get topside, but Wilhelm's real fast, man. Can Kaz keep alive? Skysplitter shield is not there in time, and Kaz trying to follow up, but the Ornn flashing in to cover the retreat forces the Feather Storm out. Now Kaz has to get back to that tower, and with Johnny Rico down, I don't know if they can win this one. Vanguard come around the corner. Kaz doesn't have anything left. He's got to go down with the Condemned stun, and it's a kill to Vanguard. Kaz sticking around far too long there. Dirty range right there. Manages to barely get the Condemned. That Ignite from Ornn finally cycled out, and the play is going to go into Lucent's pocket, collapsing and punishing for that attempt right there to get a bit more pressure on the map, and almost denies a fair bit of that snowball that Viperio was getting off to. The gold lead doesn't really change too much, but crucially it does get them a little bit more map control. Vanguard getting off the ball is going to be super important, as they are going to edge close to that presumed Kraken Slayer off this base.
yeah, they hopefully will be able to have that Mythic coming on board just now. Kaz does have the Guild Force already, and Vanguard, I imagine, going into that Kraken Slayer. Actually, not quite. Going towards the Shield Bow, too.
That is certainly an option, and the only reason I don't like it so much is because the enemy team has a Blitzcrank. And Blitzcrank Ultimate, for those who don't know, instantly kills all shields. Straight up. Gone. Obliterated. Exodia. And that means that Vanguard, who's going to be tumbling around trying to weave on the edge of these fights, they're going to have to, even more so than before, pick their timing to go in. Because there's potential, if you go in, get chunked out as you expect to against this short-range enemy comp, your shield procs is instantly gone. Late game, that could be effective 800 HP that Blitzcrank kills with R.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to play around for sure, and without the Kraken Slayer passive, it's going to take a little longer to burn through these health targets. Of course, Vayne never really struggled with that traditionally. He already has a Kraken Slayer passive built into the kit, more or less, but it is going to, you know, lower that DPS output just a smidge. As we see another Herald being picked up by Viperio, so they already got that first blood turret down bot lane, maybe looking to get another one before long.
This is far more, I'm going to say, productive early game for Viperio than we expected. Just with regards to the objective game, this Volibear pick has been pretty big just by the fact that Wilhelm has been able to run around the jungle quicker, but has not been able to enable these lanes to get much done is the main point, and Johnny Rico has just pretty much always been there with his number in pocket saying, hey, did you order a Rift Herald? Sorry, that's mine actually. I think I might just take that one and, you know, collapse your bot lane tower.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime Wilhelm arrived to try and do something like a gank or jungle invade or a Rift Herald, Johnny Rico was always there on time, it has to be said, has kept himself even in CS, and yeah, he's just done a really good job playing his style of jungle. So, we don't have to worry about that anymore. He's not a Graves one-trick, everybody. He's got more to offer, but now it seems like Lucent have much more control of the river as the dragon is coming up before long.
Very problematic for Lucent. Oh no.
Wait, the hook onto Iorengus. He does get Lantern straight back over. Little transfer, change places, but there goes the Rift Herald into the mid lane. So now, with Viperio with control of the mid lane, they're going to get something back.
And question is, I don't like this rotate by Lucent. They should have just given up this tower by the looks of it. They will actually manage to save it crucially. It's very important for Ziggs to keep this one alive, but is the important thing to also maintain river control, because if you give up this, that is Dragon's sole point for Viperio.
It's a hook on the jungler. Call of the Forge God comes through defensively. Info around the side. Can they stop the jungler going down? Hass goes low, but Wilhelm has fallen to Kaz, and Vanguard doesn't have the damage just yet. Now, looks like Viperio, they got 5 versus 4. They should be able to take this one. A big bomb lands onto Kaz, not got the scaling just yet, and now they're following through with the engage. Zerg's taking down Hass, and Kaz trying to get onto Vanguard. The roots come through, but he's traded back and in 4. Has to try and clean it up. Killikin is there. The 3-man squad of Viperio will sort it out in the end. Nice guy Don, though. He's over the wall. He's full HP. Killikin and Rico, they've got to be scared of the bombs.
Nice guy Dom, this is the story of their last game against them. This is just the Ziggs doing everything they can. Can they 1v3 deny the objective? It looks like it's going to get pulled out, and they're not going to be able to threaten. No Mega Inferno bomb available for that steal. That is sole point to Viperio.
Yeah, and so early too. That fight really just felt like Lucent didn't quite have the power on their carries to make it work. They were so close, honestly. Dom and Vanguard putting out a lot of damage, but they don't have the scaling just yet. Viperio's got the better mid-game comp, and they are flexing it very well here.
It all spawns off of that Rift Herald placement we saw from Johnny Rico. Getting that down does force the Ziggs to have to run to mid, because losing tier 1 on this global wave clear champion is so crucial. If Nice Guy Dom does not have this tier 1 mid, it means they cannot express the pressure on the map, as right now Zerg on a ward, but so's Hass, so it looks like nothing is going to amount here. And once again, just keep the turret alive. If this falls, then you lose so much of the map, and it becomes so difficult for the Nice Guy Dom to actually carry this one heading into the mid game.
Yeah, hasn't got a single kill on the board just yet, but has developed a significant CS advantage over the last few minutes. Now up to 200, has the ahead of the minute kind of counter CS that is what you want for this late game scaling carries, whereas Killikin spent more time roaming towards bot lane, trying to enable the teamfight comp, as that's kind of what the Orianna wants to do when you've got engaged frontline this massive.
Certainly, so it does almost tie together nicely in a little bow. We're explaining in Champ Select how both teams want to conduct themselves, and this is Viperio's time to shine. They need to be looking to take that Infernal Soul and close out, potentially with a Baron, because it's going to be so hard to actually shove in minion waves against the Ziggs. Yeah. So it makes it a very crucial objective. And one thing to point out about the Rift is because it's Infernal Rift, right, there's a few interactions of walls this game. One being Gnar, one being Vayne. Both means that now in the rivers and when you're fighting around choke points, there's not so many places to slam people into.
Yeah, that's true. A little bit less utility available for these picks. They're gonna have to just get it done with damage. I mean, Infernal Soul does make that easier to do, so Viperio poised to get the best value out of that one. But let's see if they can actually get it done. I'm looking to this mid lane matchup again, and we've got the 2-item spike here for Nice Guy Dom, got the Seraphs, got the Leandries, so he's gonna be doing a lot more damage going forward, whereas Killikin still just sitting on the fully stacked tier.
They do lose that mid-tier 1 though on that most recent push, which is going to make it pretty scary for Lucent now to walk to these objectives, and puts a lot more emphasis on what we see on the minimap of good vision control. They've got the area of their top side covered. That's what you need. This bot side is dead to you if you're Lucent. You can't touch that. Yeah, send Vanguard down there to collect farm, but that's the best you're getting. You just want to keep almost a nice triangle up here out of that top tier 1 to 2, so you can at least maintain some level of control and not just completely forfeit the Baron, because it's really hard, oddly enough, for Ziggs Vayne to face check into, well, everything on the enemy team.
Just all of what's going on over there. You can see the vision there being toggled by Phil the Producer. You can see how much vision's being invested by Viperio on this bottom side. They're on Soul Point. They've got a team fight comp. All they really have to do is wait for Infernal Soul to come up and then try and win the fight with the gold leaf they've accrued, and they don't want to do anything crazy until then, it seems. Just catch the waves, push them back, keep control of the river, and we'll see you in a minute, 40.
Does place a lot of emphasis on I Won't Lose and Zerg here just to regain vision control, because the Ornn can ignore these Blitzcrank hooks if they react quick enough. So we see they do manage to fish out. Haas is going to deny them, lurking with that Ken tank in pocket. Every time you step into Fog of War, you are risking your life. So that is why you need to be almost just lined up behind this Giga Tank Ornn, who only at 1 item right now. It's not actually that much of a Giga Tank into the enemy team.
Not just yet, for sure, but we can see that first Ornn item coming on deck there. The Ironforge Grasp, upgraded for I Won't Lose. Level 13, once he gets to 14, that's when the ornaments can start coming across. We're going to get Vayne upgrades, we're going to get Ziggs upgrades. The damage these guys are doing is going to spike even harder. So Viperio, they really want to get this Infernal Soul so they can keep their damage ticking up alongside Lucent's.
Paralleling a Ziggs heading into later on is going to be nigh impossible, but this would give them a way into at least contesting it. With that Lantern down though, crucially watch now for Haas. They can hook anybody and they are not safe for the next 10,
Nice guy
10 seconds or so.
He slips away, he doesn't have a stopwatch either. If Nice Guy Dom gets caught, he's got a flash, and if that's down, he is donezo.
Oh, it is so hard to escape though, because if you do get hooked, you're in Volibear ultimate range, and you pretty much will die, because any of these carries do not have enough escape tools. Maybe Vanguard can super outplay it, but if we look at this right now, neither team paying attention to waves. This is just the dragon. That is all that is in these teams' eyes. Watch the Orianna Bull, watch for that potential flank if they go for one.
This is exactly how Lucent was playing the last series versus London United. They came out on top there. Will they come out on top here? Kaz has gone towards that mid wave. They have to wait for him to come back. Now the dragon is spawned. I Won't Lose makes the first move, calls the Forge God, hits nobody. The bomb comes out, doesn't do that much. Viperio, maybe they can turn this one around. Kaz has to kite back from the Ornn, but who is going to get the better of this one? In4 is in, and he's out. A shockwave catches Vanguard and Zerg, but Wilhelm on the sides. Not Sky Dom, not has been touched just yet. Kaz throws out the Feather Storm. Both teams backing away. It's just one kill so far. Viperio with the 5 versus 4, but they've got the blinking red health bars. The dragon is now being focused by Lucent. Viperio have got to get back into the pit here, but they don't seem to have a jungler. Viperio, are they going to get this win here? But actually Wilhelm gets the hook onto Wilhelm, and now the jungler's down. It's a double kill for Kaz, but he gets knocked up by the Satchel Bomb, flashed on, and falls the shutdown to Nice Guy Dom. Killikin stunned onto the tiniest, picks up the wall, but he trades his life. It's a double kill for Vanguard down. In4 is back in with the teleport. Nice Guy Dom doing so much work, but he can't do it all. Chased out of the pit. Johnny Rico's back in here. I think this is Infernal Soul.
And that yodel combat at the very end there as they're running away, they do manage to pick them up, so there is no chance for a steal. I Won't Lose will not be able to get in range. This dragon will certainly go over to Viperio in every which world right now. And that was a fight of ridiculous inches. In4 actually gets a 3-man Gnar onto the wall. One of the remaining walls in the river, by the way. And that pretty much seals the fight there. because it funnels straight up with a shockwave after. We actually saw Nice Guy Dom got hooked by Haas, and later on, I believe it was Wilhelm also gets hooked again, sealing their fate. So pretty ridiculous performance so far on the Blitzcrank in that fight, and just patience by Viperio, really showing their stuff right there, managed to secure the Infernal Soul at 24 minutes.
Yeah, it's a very similar story to that earlier fight between these two teams. Lucent came so close, they were within millimeters of winning that one outright, but Viperio, as you say, they play it patient, they never completely throw the fight, they keep fighting back, they always make sure everyone's trading, and they have the TP advantages there, because Nice Guy Dom was still alive. He gets away, they get the Infernal Soul, and now this is exactly what they needed.
Denying that blue buff from Ziggs is very scary now for Lucent, because it means you can't just chuck out abilities into Fog of War and zone with that. You have to now actually donate more resources towards face checking, and when it comes to trying to contest a potential Baron right here, it is a terrifying prospect, mostly because if you take a look at summoners, oh no.
Ooh, he gets close, and there's the Chem Tank gets the stun. There's not going to be a follow-up here. He is just too dang fast. But, oh, Haas with the hook doesn't quite land onto Vanguard now. Kaz dropping the feathers. Can't find anything, though. We've got a 1-3-1 split from Viperio here. No TP on Gnar, but a TP on Killikin. And can Lucent even find a clutch engage if that's what they want to do?
It's so hard to, because you don't have any of your tools together. Ornn can't look for a solo. This is just a matter of, like, here, collapsing, but you can't chase anybody. Nobody is susceptible to being run down. It is so terrifying as a concept to try and force, and they've left their mid lane tower gone. There's no carries here.
Yeah, it just falls completely uncontested right now. Haas still zoning them back with the hooks. Killikin obviously is getting the push versus a literal Ornn and is shoving them in right now. Without the Call of the Forge God, I don't think Lucent have a way to start anything happening.
While that smite is in inventory, it means that they are never really scared for Viperio if there's a TP flank, because the chat will tell you that Ornn has switched back to TP as soon as they use that, which gives you pretty much double the time you would normally have to actually prepare for an Ornn TP flank, and at that rate, the fight could already be over with this Infernal Soul on the hand.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we didn't see in the last series. This is Viperio, they've got the advantage, and they're playing out the macro very cleanly. They're running them around the map, getting all the waves crashing at the same times, not overstepping, and they're just accruing more and more gold. It's over 5,000 gold lead in their favor now, 5 towers to 1, with the Infernal Soul still here. Viperio are looking like the measured team that we were kind of expecting them to be.
I mean, look at Info right there. Actually, that is CEO of Weak Side stuff right there.
Yeah.
They do not take the wave where it was officially there. They actually let it come back into them before pushing it out. That means that if you look at this right now, it's going to slowly push back into them in a couple waves' time, presuming nobody answers it. But most importantly, it means there's never a window for Lucent to punish. They are just not being given the chance back into this game, and they certainly don't have the tools to do it themselves.
Love ourselves a bit of wave management here in the UKEL. That's what really gets us going, as now we see the vision more being dedicated towards the top side by Viperio. The Dragon is not coming for 2.5 minutes. They've got the Soul. The Baron is potentially what they want, because trying to push waves into a Ziggs is easier said than done. They're going to need some extra defense on that one, but Lucent have complete control of the river once again.
They do see Info going mega in the side lane. I think this is a great call. They need to get something done before their base is going to get torn apart. They have double smite available. Keep an eye on Haas, see if they can get anything down here. This is just going to be a matter of poke for Lucent.
Yeah, they grab that TP, pull it off from Infor, and there's no Megas charging up right now, but looks like they want to find the engage onto Haas. He's going to fall on that front line. This is a great start for Lucent, but a massive 4-man shockwave from Killikin completely flips the fight, and Vanguard has fallen. Oh my goodness, Viperio, what a beautiful team fight.
And who needs Baron? As long as Ziggs isn't in the base, they're going to run it, but they're actually TPing back in. They can clear this wave. They don't need the Mega Inferno Bomb. They can actually just deny this push, but traded a flash right there from Kaz.
Yeah, Kaz not going to let this go down that easily. Wants to protect that wave. Has 2 caster minions, and they are going to keep this push going. Killikin stepping forward aggressively. Flashes, gets the engage, but gets knocked back and goes very low. Nice Guy Dom still lives, so they will stay alive in this game. Can they even do the Baron now?
They certainly are going to have to reset because they cannot attempt it on these HP amounts, and if they did and failed, the Elder is up too, so that could be such a massive swing back into Lucent's favour. And the question is, coming out of the base right now, with all of the Lucent members available, are they just going to run it to an objective? If I were them, I would personally look to just try and deny one and give up the other, because it's so hard to contest both with your team comp, even though you have double smite. And if you look at it right now, if the enemy team gets that Baron, it is almost certainly lights out for Lucent.
Yeah, I mean, it really feels like if they got the Baron there, that would have been the play, because, you know, ending the game on those low timers is so hard, and now one inhib down in the middle lane means nothing to Lucent. Ziggs is just happy to absorb all the gold coming in towards him, and Viperio, they've now got to win another fight. They are coming out on top in these ones, but it is not looking easy every time. It took a massive shockwave from Killikin to get that one, and Haas was the first one falling. At some point, Viperio, they might put a foot wrong, and they might start losing. That's when Lucent can strike back.
Especially when you have this kind of preemptive strike right now from Lucent. They are here at the Elder. This Ziggs ult will almost basically one-tap people if they manage to secure this objective. And they're collapsing. Everybody's in range. In 4, halfway to Mega.
Yep, they're going to go for this fight. A hook lands on Johnny Rico, jumps in with the ultimate. I'm at least trying to call the Forge God as well. In4 is over the side. He's gone into Mega. What can he do? A 3-man shockwave again! It's a massive ult combo from Viperio. They just keep finding it. And they've split the fight. They've split Lucent across the river. Vanguard, he is still alive. Gets a shot down. Gets another. Flashes in onto Kaz. He doesn't get the trade. Vanguard stays alive with the triple. And it's the Elder for Lucent. What an outplay.
He's alive! Nice Guy Dom is alive throughout the entire fight! The 2 key carries! You let them take these picks, Viperio! You asked to be challenged! You said, you know what, first game of the series, take your Ziggs, take your Vayne. If we beat you on this, this series is almost certainly ours. The mental destruction Viperio would have implemented with these 2 picks losing is intense. But looking at it right now, Lucent finding their way back into the game. Who needs Infernal Soul? Ziggs outscales it.
Absolutely, and they're going to look to get the Baron on top of it too. Killikin is here. Johnny Rico's up in a little bit, but this is going to have to be an insane Orianna steal to make this happen. We know the ult does a lot of damage. Can he beat it? Will Wilhelm flub the spite? Killikin, you've got to make it happen. He doesn't get it. Blue team secures it. Man, it was damn close though.
They didn't have smite available. They were just waiting for Nice Guy Dom's ult to be in range at that point. It was just a factor of Killikin. That was almost a contest that could have secured the game back in Viperio's favour. But now, we look at Lucent. They have the Elder Dragon available for all but another 2 minutes, minute and a half time. But crucially, they have the Baron. They can push out these waves. It's now down to they're in the driver's seat. How do they play this map? Do they just run it down as 5? Or they try and opt to make plays onto these side lanes? Maybe collapse on this Gnar, who's going to just keep the entire map pressured.
Yeah, it's a really tough decision point here for both teams going forward, and you can see the Ornn items coming through thick and fast for Lucent now. They've got the Liandry's Lament onto Nice Guy Dom, they've got the Blood Ward onto Vanguard. The power is just accelerating into this late game. Yes, they are still down in gold, but they've got Elder, they've got Baron, they've got Ornn items. It's really not starting to mean that much.
A scary 4v4 right here. Neither tank in tow. They're both just cancelling each other. No TPs allowed.
Oh, it's an ult committed and a hook onto Zerg. That's a first kill. It is just the support. Kaz actually opts to trade Featherstorm for the Ziggs ultimate. Doesn't want to take the damage, and to be honest, might be the right call here. We've seen the damage that the Nice Guy Dom Ziggs can do on the bot side. This fight has gone to the death right now, and In4 is surely going to win this one. The knockup gets him low, but In4 still grabs it. He's going to likely be traded by the rest of Lucent, coming through to make sure he doesn't get this one for free. Ooh, maybe he can get away. Actually, he slips away, gets away with a speedy little hop, skip, and a jump, and he's back to his team.
And now they're all grouped up again, but that Ziggs ult is 3/4 of the way to being back up, and they've out of the driver's seat again. Lucent not able to get stuff done on the map with that play. All of the objective power they could physically get now, and it is gone for naught. One hook from Haas denies the entire push. The top lane is right there scrapping, and if you just look at this lead for In4 in the top side, could we potentially toggle over to gold while we have a little bit of downtime? As we see right here,
oh boy,
3.5k in the pocket for this Gnar. He is so massive for the team.
He is absolutely insanely big right now, and Infor showed us right there why this Gnar is picked up. He's had some big ultimates throughout this game, but even with that said, we saw that Vanegod can tear through him if given the chance, and Nice Guy Dom is usually kind of left on his own in these fights. Viperio just trying to win it before the Ziggs gets too much done, and it doesn't feel like a long-term viable strategy.
You asked me at the start of this game, will Johnny Rico always be able to outduel Wilhelm? And I said the answer was yes. But, crucially, if we look at it right now, the fact that Wilhelm can run through and point-blank stun Gnar when they jump in, point-blank stun Johnny Rico when they jump in, point-blank stun every mid-range person on the Viperio squad, this Udyr now offers more than the Volley Bear can. It needs to be almost perfect for Johnny Rico to get stuff done on this pick, as frankly, they are just a smite in pocket and a meat shield for their Orianna at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate is big, but it is a bit slow, and Vanegod has Tumble. Nice Guy Dom's got this actual charge. It's tough for him to get that work done, as you say. We do see now Viperio trying to still contest this mid lane wave. Happy to wait around White now. They seem to always just be playing for the next objective, not necessarily going for any fights to kick them off. They tend to just go for the fight around the pit.
I don't think this favors Viperio, this tactic of just patience. You, at this point, are getting outscaled. The Infernal Soul only does so much. As soon as Lucent picked up that Elder Dragon, you can't really contest them. And can we potentially get a hover to see how much ult damage the Ziggs can do right now? Because I just want to see if the steal is potential without even entering into the pit. Is that already at... Yes,
it is. Absolutely is. Doesn't even have a Rabidance yet, and he's already doing almost, 1,200
Oh, what about now? What about now? Check it again!
Oh, we just bought a Rabidance. Oh god, get us a second hover. Please, the number, I want to see big number. It's 1,400. Oh my god.
That's quite big.
That's like 2 smites.
Yeah, it really is. And considering you have Wilhelm, and potentially I won't lose picking up their own smite. Yeah. Okay, 850 for regular smite. That is disgusting potential for Lucent to win these fights. Now, watch the Ornn, watch the Blitzcrank. These are the pivotal members right now.
Yep, Haas on the front line, but only I Won't Lose in enrage right now, and Haas knows he doesn't really want this guy. I Won't Lose knows he doesn't care. He's actually going to opt for it now, and there's going to be a bit of damage traded back, but the Mega Tank has become pretty mega tanky. Infor is in. Can he get the carries? He doesn't get the carries. Vayne got a nice go down on the backside. What an Mega Inferno Bomb! Haas is absolutely melted, as is Kaz. He's got to get dived on, and here come the Lucent carries. We have hit late game, we have hit critical mass, and looks like they might actually just win this game.
Lucent could just run it down mid here. You don't have the same amount of wave clear with the Orianna and the Volley Bear. They could frankly just face tank it if they want to, but it looks like they're going to pick up the Elder and then use that. We saw, though, that Lucent did not end with the last Elder Baron combo. Will they be any better off with this one? I would guess probably.
Yeah, look at the items, look at the damage. We could see just how much work that ultimate is doing. Nice Guy Dom Ziggs is becoming the premier pick of the whole damn playoffs at this rate. He's doing so much work with it.
And Infor right there, they managed to get the ultimate in the middle of that fight, but what it ended up doing was separating tanks from carries. Nice Guy Dom and Vanegod barely spacing on the edge of the Gnar ult, and that means that the two tanks are just thrown into Viperio. And the amount of times it takes Viperio, with this Xayah and Orianna, to rip through the tanks of Lucent is much, much longer than it takes a Ziggs and a Vayne to shred through, frankly, all of the members of Viperio. Their damage is incomprehensible, and heading into this Baron right now, Viperio are just confused. There's nothing you can do here, really.
Yeah. When they're like trying to swap frontliners and trying to play front to back and okay, whose backline damage is going to kill the tanks first, for Kaz, he can't hit them because he always has to be waiting for the Mega Inferno Bomb and then flashing Feather Storming out of it. He can't even think about the enemy frontliners. He's got to be wary of Dom from a whole screen away.
Frankly, this was a statement game from Viperio. They said, hey, have your premier picks, and if we beat you on them, the series is ours. Now, if we look at how it's going, the series does not seem to be theirs. I am expecting both of these, if not at least one, to be taken off the table, no matter the result of this game at this point.
Yeah, you can't just let them have it again. You can't let them keep getting away with it, as now the wave is coming in. And you can see the tower damage that Nice Guy Dom is doing. That passive and the satchel charge will absolutely evaporate structures in 4. And I won't lose, happily just having a little fight in that mid lane. But the 4v4 is getting very dicey for Viperio.
And there's no deja vu here. Last time we saw this situation, double objectives in Lucent's favour, top lane scrapping. It was in the top lane's favour, and Infor got the solo kill. It looks like now, no such occurrence. I Won't Lose denies the inhib take and is actually getting to push down mid right now, threatening onto Gnar themselves. They have a ward in base, but there is no way Viperio can end the game off of that ward alone.
Nope, now the Baron wave has crashed, and there goes the satchel charge. Boom goes the tower. The inhib is exposed, and it's even safer on the push now. Looks like Lucent want to just try and get mid lane done too. They get a hook onto Wilhelm though. They've got the stun, but he has the flash. Infor goes over the wall, but there's no follow-up damage, and he just gets to walk away. What a massive team fight tool off the table.
Death sentence did not land there, but now the Ornhorn is up. Vanguard using the ultimate though does mean this final hour won't be available if they try and end off of this push. It looks like they're just going to go for double inhib.
Haas looking for a hook. He needs to find something. I Won't Lose covering that front line. The hook does not land onto Vanguard, and in comes the bomb, and down goes Haas. It's a killing spree for Dom. Johnny Rico in the 5v1 can do nothing, and Lucent are looking to sew up this one game. They got the Baron waves crashing. It's still a 3 versus 5, but man, I don't know what Viperio can do here.
It is a terrifying amount of time right now. We don't know how long's left on this Baron, but it looks like they're just going to end as soon as these towers hit a third. Ziggs bombs them.
Oh, Infor goes in with the also once again. Killikin gets another decent shockwave. Another hook lands onto Wilhelm, but it's just the jungler for 2 more members, and Killikin can only watch or get hooked, and he will fall as well. Lucent, they rip that game from the jaws of defeat and make this series 1-0.
And that is how you scale right there against all odds. The 4 dragons in their favour. Infernal Soul for a comp that loved having it for the fact that it just allowed them to match that long. But they couldn't win. Viperio were too slow. They didn't end the game before Vanguard and Nice Guy Dom ran it through.
No, they were so powerful right there. We could see like the critical moments of Viperio. They went mid instead of getting the Baron, and then they can't get the wave, and they have like an awkward dragon fight, and they don't quite get the stun onto as many carries, and Vanguard gets alive, and Nice Guy Dom gets away. It was so close at so many points there. Even when Lucent were behind, they were almost winning every fight, and after a while their comp just said, alright, we're ready to go now.
And coming off of 2 very dramatic games, Lucent managed to pull out a performance like that. The patience shown, so big, and even just shows the week-to-week change, evolution of this team. Last week, it was Haas managing to get the plays. Kaz outplaying on this Xayah specifically against the Ziggs was the one that managed to win the game for the team effectively. And heading into this week, we see now the entirety of Lucent way more on the same page, ready to play around this Ziggs, and it's pretty nutty. Let's see the damage.
Yeah, let's have a look. Oh my word.
Yep. Oh, yep.
It's Ziggs, everybody. It is Ziggs, everybody. Basically double the damage of anybody on the opposing team, and a 15-17k ahead of his counterpart carry in Vanguard. So please, just don't give it to him again, okay? You can't let him keep doing it to you.
And the one caveat, just for everybody to note right there, is the Ziggs was not the team with Infernal Soul for the majority of that game, and it was almost a majority. Oh man, this next game is going to be an absolute banger, seeing what happens again.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. We're gonna go to a short break just now, but everyone don't go anywhere. Lucent making a statement in Game 1. Let's see if Viperio can bring the series back. Welcome back, everybody, to Game 2 of this series here in the UKEL Playoffs Losers Finals. We had, shall we say, an explosive Game 1 thanks to Nice Guy Dom's Ziggs pick. And I mean, we mentioned it just before the break a bit. Do you expect us to see this pick again, Melvin Izzle?
No.
No.
Never, no.
No,
God,
smiley
no,
face.
please, no. Absolutely not.
Yeah, just get it out of here, man. It was too good. And it seems we mentioned that, like, Killikin's pool doesn't seem to really have an answer for it. He didn't choose to try and find one, went for the Orianna blind into Nice Guy Dom, and had some great shockwaves, I will say. Had some absolutely wonderful shockwaves, but after a while, it just kind of stops mattering.
Into any other game state or any other team, you probably win the game off of half of
Yeah.
those shockwaves, frankly. Like, this is not a diss to Killikin in the game. Frankly, the players of Viperio performed well, but the only problem was they just didn't end the game. And I know that sounds dumb when you say it, but you're against a Ornn, Ziggs, and the Vayne. Just end the game, Forehead. That's all you need to do.
You have to, or they will. At some point, they just did. And those fights that were always on a knife edge, just kind of inexorably getting closer and closer to Lucent winning them. After a while, it tipped to the other side, and they started winning them. And the last fight was a complete blowout, and they just crushed it. So yeah, the late game comp of Lucent coming through strong right there, and we're not probably expecting to see the same picks coming through. But something else that was an interesting part of that game 1 was the fact that Johnny Rico went to a ganking enabling jungler in the Volibear. He played it pretty well, had a lot of impact early on, but do you expect him to keep going with this one after the game 1 loss?
It depends for me on the draft. Like, if they allow that Ziggs and Vayne through, which they by all means shouldn't, at very least one of them should be taken off the table first rotation. But frankly, they performed well on the Volibear early. They did everything they needed to do, but fundamentally, Johnny Rico isn't the kind of player. They help a lot as the game goes on. They do contribute a lot to this late game, almost the person that ends the game. And when you aren't on a champion who can just end the game, Volibear doesn't do that. Graves, you can pick one person and they're insta-dead. Volley, you slap, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's an actual bear slap, but a much weaker bear slap, funnily enough. It's not quite as good as Udir's fake spirit one, but we'll see. Yeah, if he wants to go through that, we'll restart the chat slate very briefly. Just had a slight error there. We'll get back into it ASAP. And something else to note here is that Viperio, they did get loser's choice on the side selection. They went back to red side, so they're going to give themselves counter pick once again. Last time, they didn't really find much of an advantage with it. Maybe this time will be a little different.
The Gnar as the last pick into Ornn and the rest of the comp, I think, wasn't necessarily like a game-losing pick by far. They performed well in 4, did manage to get a disgusting 3-man Gnar ultimate around the, I believe it was the Infernal Soul fight. And at the end of the day, Viperio had the Infernal Soul at 23 minutes. The fact that they didn't end after that is really the point you need to review as the team. And you need to ask yourself, was it us mis-executing, or was it them just performing well on their picks? And frankly, it's a bit up in the air. You can kind of go both ways with it, because again, nobody from Viperio really underperformed, and that makes it a very strange feeling coming into game 2 for the series.
Yeah, exactly, and we were praising them throughout that game about how controlled they were and how they were actually looking like they were, you know, trying to play the game with a bit of strategy rather than the Lucent London United series where both teams just kind of bashing into each other over and over again. And once again, Lucent, they just kind of showed up to every fight, didn't quite win it until they started winning it, so maybe I still want to see a bit more out of Lucent. Maybe if they can get an early lead this time, we'll see if they can actually flex that macro a little bit better, but so far I think I would still give the favor to Viperio on that sense.
And as we take a look at these initial bans, I believe these are identical to the last one, crucially leaving up this Ziggs, this Vayne, and for Johnny Rico, this Graves, all champions that have not been turned off. Will we see just an Udyr for Volibear trade in the first rotation? As actually that Xayah getting taken off is a particularly different one heading into this next draft.
Yeah, I mean, Kaz wasn't able to get too much done with it. There is the Ziggs ban, so we're not going to see that coming out. The Udyr still wide open, and Wilhelm struggled a little bit early, but as he talked about during the game, at some point it stopped mattering, and he just able to be the Udyr that he needed to be, and he could just take a step back and let the carries kind of be the spotlight members.
So if I'm Viperio looking at this draft, the fact that the enemy team can now just pick jungler right away, whichever one they prioritize, and then go for Zillion plus Vayne, that's something that, when you say it like that, pretty scary prospect for Lucent. They perform extremely well in these picks. Nice Guy Dom's almost meta-adjacent pool of champions makes them just an annoyance, if anything, to play against, as we do see almost identical rotations, but this time the Thresh crucially taken for Viperio.
Yeah, Zerg pushed off the Thresh, which has been his go-to for the last few games, and Haas obviously has a very solid Thresh as well. Something else we haven't really seen throughout this draft at all is the Seraphine. It's not really been touched, pick, or ban, and both of these mid laners could probably play it, but it seems like Nice Guy Dom has had the opportunity to play it in the past and doesn't really want to.
He is one that's kind of lost a bit of steam in the most recent patches. And we're definitely going to see a mix-up this time, as they just take the Jhin as opposed to the open vein, as it looks like we may get a very similar poke comp from Lucent. We'll have to see if they do pick up that Zilean here, because Zilean Jhin, that is a very oppressive duo. As soon as they get to like 1.5 items each, they could go for the Xerath. That's a different option. Is a good answer into the Orianna, and they take it away from obnoxious Jhin to obnoxious poke.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make Orianna's lane very hard. Orianna, great trades in the mid-range. Xerath, of course, never has to go into the mid-range, so we'll just be throwing out the skill shots, and Nice Guy Dom has pulled this out on occasion before, so very nice pick there. Another little Vayne hover. They hovered it all the way through last draft, and then Lucent just picked it and beat them on it, so I don't really know what the hover is trying to say anymore, but Johnny Rico is going to go back onto the Volibear.
Okay, so we see an near identical run back from Viperio's first rotation, with the exception of the support. Now, the thing that the Thresh offers as opposed to the Blitzcrank is it doesn't give you the potential to insta-win a game off of a hook, but it does give you the versatility and defensive tools when you are getting run down by things like this Udyr, when you get rooted or stunned by the Jhin, by the Xerath, gives a few more options defensively, and should, in theory, for Viperio at least, allow them to play these objectives a bit safer now that they don't have the desire to just freebie get Kaz out of there.
Yeah, for sure. As we go into the second round of bans, it's bot lane focus for Viperio, taking away the Alistar. There is plenty of engaged still on the table. Nautilus is still there, Leona's still there, even the Rel is still there, though we wouldn't normally see it paired with the Jhin. And on the other side, the Ashe ban actually coming through, so maybe a little bit of a pocket pick scouted by Lucent here.
That is a pretty decent one to get rid of when you are these super long-range champions. It is an answer into Jhin, similar to an answer into Caitlyn. It's just the fact of where you stand still for a while, so of course I can just no-scope you from across the map. And another champion that we saw taken out of the draft last time the other way around, though, was the Malphite in this exact same spot. I want to see that gone again, because Jhin and Xerath do not answer that rock very well.
No, and they've got the Orianna, they've got the Volibear, there's no escape, guys. And Infor can happily play that on the weak side, so I think that would be a good ban for sure. It was the Rel taken away by Viperio, so Leona's still open, Nautilus still open. I'm expecting to see one of those too. You know, maybe Zerg pulls the Yuumi out again, who knows? There's the Malphite ban.
Thank God, thank God. That would have been asking for trouble as Lucent, as we do see the Tristana. That is a very aggressive bot laner for Kaz coming out. They're going to try and blitz the early game by the looks of it this game.
I like that. I like that for Kaz. I think that's a good choice for this player to do. I mean, last game he was kind of shut out by the Ziggs, wasn't able to be the late game win condition that he's often set up to be. Now he's got the Tristana. I think it's better for him.
I want to see if they opt for a defensive support, something potentially even like the Bard, a bit wacky, as this is I Won't Lose on the Jace. They did just play that in their previous series, and this poke comp, Lucent executed on pretty well, I would say, against London, with the exception of some fights. They won the game, that's the point that matters. And last game, with not as much of a poke-centric comp, they did alright, so this is something they're ready to play. They have decent force tools, so pretty coherent stuff. How on earth does Viperio answer? More force, I hope.
Yeah, more force. And I'm assuming that on the bot lane it's going to be mostly a roaming Leona. I mean, into Thresh, Leona, there's so many ways for Thresh to just kind of go, no, we don't want to deal with you, go away, go somewhere else. And then Leona can just go somewhere else to mid lane and go for an ult there, or maybe into top lane, as it is the Ornn for in-4 there.
I think potentially we might even just see this Leona picked up to deny the aggression that Kaz can pump out in this lane, as they were the crucial player for Viperio in their original series against Lucent that knocked Lucent into loser's bracket. So now they're on a pick, got agency, got mobility, they need to get it done this game.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, when the fact that they've got the Ornn now, Viperio, it's not going to be the same story of, oh, we're winning until we're just kind of not, and oh no, they've outstripped us. Ornn is going to keep them relevant. With the Tristana, that's outscaling the Jhin. You know, the Orianna, well, it depends on how you feel about how the Xerath is played, but like, Xerath isn't like a hyper carry late game. He does great damage, but it's not Ziggs damage.
I think the biggest difference between Xerath and Ziggs is that Ziggs offers the zone control in the process. Xerath can mortar down you with a lot more AoE poke just from the Q alone, and offers more consistent late game ability with that ultimate, being able to throw out multiple shots as opposed to Ziggs just gets one. But it does pivot your style. Ziggs is, I'm going to throw everything, wait a second, come back, run it back, and you're not allowed here. We're just going to say you don't come to this spot. Whereas Xerath is just like, please don't come through. Please don't come through every few seconds, and it's not as menacing.
If you do,
you stop
you'll be sorry, I swear. Okay,
I'm
so...
looking.
But yeah, like the true power, I think, of this combo with the Xerath and the Jhin, the poke and the way they can just ruin the fight from you before you get a chance to even have it is going to be big, and they're going to have to play around that one. Nice Guy Dom's positioning was great in Game 1. Never caught out on these team fights, and if he can keep that going, he might be able to still make Viperio's life very hard. But as we mentioned, I think the Force is just even better now. They've still got the Thresh, but now they've got the Call of the Forge God. That super long-range engage that might be a bit of a difference maker here.
Certainly will be when you're against two people, like we were saying for the Malphite ban, that go completely stationary. An Ornn, similar, bit slower purpose of that ram can get you no matter where you are. There's no Braum, there's no Yasuo, no Samira, nothing to negate this Ornn horn coming through. So if you're not careful as Nice Guy Dom and Vayne God, why does everybody just have to have a Vayne in this series? But if you're not careful when you sit down to ult on these two, the info ult just denies it completely.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one to see how this one plays out for sure. And if we're looking at the way these comps are likely to play out early, of course we've got Jace in the top lane. That's about the winningest top lane you can draft. It's going to be pushing into In4. On the bot side, does Viperio have the ability to make that a winning lane for themselves in that 2v2?
I think they definitely have the tools to do it, and it would take a pretty overzealous level 1, I would guess, from Viperio for it to go completely wrong, to maybe try and force something before Tristana has the ability to rocket jump in and out. Maybe if they face check the wrong bush, that would be the only way. I don't see this going in Viperio's favour for at least the first few levels. Tristana, a lot of push in that champion, and the fact that Jhin has a limited amount of wave clear early before they can spam down abilities to supplement it, should give Johnny Rico all the potential to secure that first dragon again.
Sure, and we did see Johnny Rico taking the win against Wilhelm in pretty much all the early scraps. They got both the Heralds, they got the Dragon lead, they were, you know, they didn't get double scuttled. It was very solid for Johnny Rico on this Volibear until he didn't matter anymore. His early and mid game was super duper solid on this Volibear. So I'm really liking this one, and if they can play around the bot lane again, they should be set up to do the same thing, but with better late game insurance this time.
Absolutely, and coming into this one, another fundamental change for Lucent's comp is they don't have that de facto late game scaling. When you do not have the Vayne and the Ziggs, this does not just give you a freebie later on. Yeah, if Nice Guy Dom doesn't fall behind, they can absolutely one-tap Killikin and Kaz as it goes later on, but they are far more risky on this Xerath. They have to slow themselves when they charge up the Q. Ziggs can just yeet it and run. Yeah. So when you're looking at it in this one, there's a lot more openings for Viperio to exploit.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to be looking for Rengus in the top lane to see if he can be the key to keep them in this one as it goes forward as well. Because remember in the last fight of that Lucent London United series, it was looking quite close, and then all of a sudden, as soon as it pops off, Rengus insta-kills Articuno and then insta-kills Kumikum on the backside. Literally 1v2s both the carries of London United, and the fight's just done. He just gets the perfect flank, has the damage, and that is kind of the Rengus difference that you can count on at some point as the game goes on. And with this different scenario for him, about as opposite from Ornn as you can get, I want to see how we can track this top lane now that it's more what we expected, with Rengus pushing in and In4 giving ground.
A lot more agency to the top side of Lucent as opposed to their last game. Before it was very clearly you have Vayne God on the Vayne, so of course we're going to funnel our resources down there and do what we can to keep you in the game. This time though, I'm won't lose. They are the mainstay for the team. This is the person that has to snowball early because Xerath cannot do it. They cannot snowball against this Orianna unless Killikin is eating skill shots for breakfast. And Vanguard and Zerg should not be allowed to get things done until level 6 at the earliest.
No, they should be. Should be pressured. This is the UKL. We have to should everything with big ol' quotes. Not quite so much as in a London United series where you have to just, you know, forget all preconceptions about how the game works and how drafts work and how late game works and any of it. But, you know, we could be a little bit more confident in how Viperio is going to play the game out at least. But, I mean, with Lucent taking that win, they were the lower seed coming in here. They were the one with a rough second half of the season. And they had that series versus London United where they looked so good. Like, maybe they are going to get back onto the form, the UKL winning form that some of their players have.
Team cohesion has been a big change coming into this week, and to be fair, Lucent, coming off of their first series, they haven't actually dropped a game yet. Will they 4-0 the day on their way to make it to finals after going 0-4 at the end of the regular season? It would definitely be a change of colours, not including the logo for this team, as they come through and potentially could just storm their way into finals.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got Demise Academy waiting for them there, but they're another team that seems to have fallen off a little bit. They look a bit more exploitable here. You know, Viperio took them down. London United put them to 1-2 in their series. Lucent, back when they, you know, earlier in the season, they were one of the few teams that seemed to be able to push Demise Academy right to the limit. So it's looking pretty good for them. They've got the momentum in the losers bracket. If they can keep it over Viperio, straight into grand finals, sew up the win, easy.
Easy, and I would say easier said than done, perhaps.
Yeah.
As Viperio were definitely no slops in that last game. They
No.
really did just execute exactly how you wanted their comp to execute. It was just until the end. I would actually say, just in a recap, the Baron was the thing that went wrong for them. They tried to go mid. Yeah, that change where they said, okay, we've killed everybody but Ziggs. Let's go get mid inhib as opposed to ending with Baron. That was the point where Viperio went wrong. So let's see if we can build up a similar early game lead and this time actually take it all the way.
Yes, let's see if they can take it right the way to the grand finals as we get onto the Rift here in Game 2. Viperio versus Lucent. Lucent with that open series win to kick us off. It's going to be a simple 5-point right now, but I mean, that's kind of what we expected. There's no Blitzcrank in the game here, so we can be a little more calm.
Yeah, cheeseless game by the looks of it. Everybody just lurking. In fact, the one thing I would say is Vanguard actually getting the same ward down as they had last time just to avoid a potential cheese of maybe Kaz jumping the wall with Hass or something. So right now just hesitantly not wanting to give Viperio a lead because we know they can at least snowball it to a pretty hard to come back state if they do get the chance. Yeah.
Here's a question for you. With In4 going for the Grasp here into the Jace, I feel like at some point in some matchups, the Grasp becomes worse because you're not going to proc it enough. But in the Jace matchup specifically, is it still fine for Ornn to go this, or would you maybe prefer to see them take something else, like the Summoner Spellbook, for instance, that Rengus took last game?
Personally would have preferred the spellbook just because it gives you a lot more versatility. If anything, what it screams to me is In4 is more confident that they can take the best trades they can get available because it means that they do not have the same utility later on. They can't carry a second smite for your team and offer this kind of versatile, well, just ability to swap out. As a skirmish happens bot straight away.
Here's that level 1 we were talking about, and Viperio come out significantly worse there. Has dropped down to 200 HP.
This is really the only thing Lucent could have looked for was by looks of it, Hast face-checked the bush, it went horribly, horribly wrong, and now, good lane state for Lucent. They could just kind of stand here, and they won't be threatened level 2 because of where they are in the lane.
Yep, they're going to be able to get a decent amount of this CS, I imagine. Of course, Haas does have the biscuits and the potions, so going to be topped up nice and quickly there. But it seems like, you know, bot lanes like this, the race to burn through your opponent's potions is like the primary goal, and then you can think about kills.
And it is 1-0 in that case to Lucent's favour, as it looks like they're just getting deep vision down, or maybe they're roaming to mid to punish Nice Guy Dom. That looks like what it is, they're just pretending they're resetting. And
well,
Kaz is going to try and force flash.
Oh, he's going to come through here. Does he have the rocket jump? He doesn't quite get the positioning. Nice Guy Dom doesn't overstep. That could have been a very spicy, maybe not going to be the cheeseless game that we expected, but it doesn't pan out.
Hass actually does not kill that minion right there. They are just letting it push back in. And it looks like Viperio will be 3 melee minions XP down for Kaz off of that play. as they did attempt to pretty much swing the mid matchup at level 3. Didn't work in their favour, and does mean they've lost a lot of pressure here, so Wilhelm, unlike last game, will have prior over this scuttle. And let's see if they learnt from last time when they just ran around the corner and face-checked the bear. They could just assume it's the same case and go double scuttle this time instead.
Yeah, Zerg this time on the assist makes that one safe, and Wilhelm getting the back away straight away. So, learning has been achieved. Actually cancels the recall, might look for mid lane, but Johnny Rico is still here, and this could develop into a 2v2. The perfect back not achieved, as Johnny Rico is going to find him, and we know how this 1v1 goes. We just saw it in game 1.
Same scrap, different place right there.
Oh, but we've got a scrap here, forces the rocket jump. Kaz, though, does have flash, doesn't choose to go for it, and first blood picked up by Zerg. Kaz not committing for the first blood kill, and is pushed back to the tower. More damage pushed back onto him, and Lucent winning the trade at level 1 in that bot side.
Nightmare fuel for Viperio right now. They're looking at this. They wanted to build up an early advantage, punish Nice Guy Dom on the less safe Xerath pick. Does not get it. Sacrifices entire lane priority and means that Johnny Rico does not get a Scuttle Crab. They are now down an XP to Wilhelm, who is just going to get to do a lovely little loop around. Both junglers without a reset. This now favours Wilhelm if they run into any fights, because frankly the Udyr could just do a lot more before they build boots and into items.
Yeah, it's a different story coming through. Lucent in firm control of the lead right now so far against Viperio, and I feel like Viperio, they need to keep it even. They need to get a possible lead if they can, otherwise they risk just being run over by this Lucent team quite calm.
Really a terrifying prospect as you head into the level 6 mark now, when that Leona and Jhin becomes pretty deadly, and the fact they've already picked up a kill before then is not really where you want to be.
Ooh, nice little stun landed by Nice Guy Dom. Nice trade onto Killikin there. But Haas actually runs straight into Zerg and Wilhelm and does not make it out alive. It's another advantage for Lucent.
Looks like Zerg aggressively flashed to get the stun right there. Haas with no way out there, just try to get vision down. And Nice Guy Dom, they are just being protected by their team. This is good play around the defensive pick. Clearly, Lucent have learnt how to play around these defensive AoE long-range control mages, and they are executing on it to a T at the moment.
Yeah, not a foot play strong really for Lucent so far. They've got a 1.5 gold lead at almost the 6-minute mark, and the Dragon in their favour. In 4 at least is keeping up in CS versus I Won't Lose, so that's pretty good for the Ornn. But besides that, there's not really that much to like about Viperio's early game.
It's not going well. The CS isn't even a determining factor. Like, just looking through Lucent, pretty much ahead in every conceivable metric you could imagine. And while it is only 6 minutes in, we did see last game go to 40 or so the game isn't determined now, but the fact that there's no lead for Viperio makes it tough, as Johnny Rico intends to change that, but can't.
Runs straight into a Jinx trap, and will get slowed down. Zerg able to escape. Wilhelm was ready on the defense too. Haas there in the brush, looking for a potential punish here, but Wilhelm's got level 6, and there are no ults elsewhere in this lane, so the amount of kill pressure is still a little low for both sides as Wilhelm comes through, and they're going to crash this wave.
Just denying any chance of a freeze. This is really good.
A nice hook and forces the flash from Wilhelm. A dive forward from Kaz, but he gets straight into a stun. There's the kill, and he drags Zerg back into the turret with the Zenith Blade. Haas forced the flash on the backside. Ignite ticking down. Will he survive it? He does. Just get the level up, I think, to live there. A very close play, but Viperio do get the kill.
Level 5 on the Jhin, did not get the kill off of that W, but right now the recalls from the Viperio bottom lane, such a nicely executed play, punishing Wilhelm for trying to help their laners right there, actually manages to pick themselves up a lead, as right now Nice Guy Dom losing flash to a Johnny Rico gank.
Johnny Rico knows there's no chance of a counter and immediately gets the value in the middle lane and is going to have to force that flash. As you say, no TP for Nice Guy Dom either, so he's not going to get any kind of easy recall and TP back. The Wilhelm has now arrived back in that top river.
And Johnny Rico was really the person that kept the early game rolling for Viperio. They had Wilhelm's number almost every gank, and right there getting stuff done in the meantime is going to put them in the right position to contest around this top side. They will hopefully ding over to level 6 off of these Krugs. There we go, and they're ready to contest.
A cheesy hook lands some hassle onto Nice Guy Dom. The stun won't follow up, but Zerg has the counter cover, and they won't get a kill here. Vanguard actually drops the current call.
Bullet hell.
Pelican trying to escape, dodging this way and that. Will get out alive, but man, that was a lot of pressure to deal with.
You can really tell how many arcade games the Lucent squad have played. You know the ones where you hold the little plastic guns and shoot at the screen as it runs by? That's what Vanguard and Nice Guy Dom intend to do as this game goes on. It is just, there's no safe place, because if you stand still behind your ally to avoid the Jin gun, then Xerath gets to ult you from AoE. But Vanguard right now could potentially step up. They are on a ward. Haas may get the hook here, and it is definitely a kill if the 2 gets on top. With Volibear down here, this may be an instant dive.
Yeah, there is no support for Vanguard. Might have to try and escape if they can. Looks like they're gonna let him go, it seems like. Maybe they're not convinced that Wilhelm is not there, and Viperio actually called this play off.
Now imagine it's that trap getting disabled by Johnny Rico's red trinket. Means that Vanguard is in the know. Is going to nimbly dodge out from that hook and force Kaz to take a bit more damage as the TP comes in.
Oh no, he stayed too long for this one. Ironwood loses there. Lantern with flash there and the flay. I think they will escape, but a flash into the E from Ironwood lose drops Haas very low, lands the death sentence, gets him into a tower shot, and Haas does fall to Rengus. Johnny Rico is here with the ultimate and lands down. Huge Stormbringer turns the fight, and now the counter TP from Infor is coming in. Zerg, you have nowhere to go, and they will complete this counter dive in the bot side. All 5 members end up showing up from Viperio for this one.
Name a more iconic duo, Lucent team members and the Viperio tier 1 bot tower, as right now this is Vanguard getting pressured, and they do not have the same backup. It's only just this Udyr here.
Oh, then comes the shocker. They're trying to get onto Wilhelm instead, and Vanguard is there with the damage with a flash from Johnny Rico. The W doesn't quite get the job done, but can they clean it up onto Jin instead? There's no shockwave, and Zerg has arrived to cover it. Neither kill is secured. They will at least get a lot of tower plates, you've got to imagine, but not optimal really for Viperio there. Couldn't get either of those second kills.
And after dying, Jace has actually made their way back to bot as the Ornauts come in mid. They're trying to force onto Dom.
Dom does escape the initial engage, but this is a very slow Xerath. The stun from that range has such a short timer. I don't think there's any way out for Nice Guy Dom here. The knockup comes through in the Bellows Breath with the clap from In4. Will secure it. So at least Viperio elsewhere on the map, they do get something more. Oh no, but now it's the counter kill! I Won't Lose is surely going to take this one. The shield from Ass is about to fall off. As soon as I Won't Lose changes form to the Mercury Cannon, there is the kill. They're just coming back and forth thick and fast right now.
This Thresh is going to have nightmares of I Won't Lose as Jace TPing bot to finish them off in that last play and picking them up here in the river. It is a bad day to be Haas roaming around on this Thresh. As we see, actually, just for the top lane wave, a little recap is it kind of went back and forth, but in the end, it goes massively in Infor's favor. Look at how many minions they're getting to collect that I Won't Lose did not get to pick up. While they collected the mid wave, it is definitely XP advantage over to Infor.
It's really huge. Both Orns in both of these games coming out on top, more or less, in terms of those lane matchups, doing very well for themselves. Experience is what Infor needs. That's what gets you the levels. That's what gets you the ornaments. And that is what Viperio, I think, are really looking forward to get the advantage concertedly back in their favor.
Crucially, if we take a look, Viperio did not manage to secure the first dragon. This is something that they really don't have often, but if they can pick up this one, at least it will put them in the similar spot of denying the soul point condition from the enemy. They actually picked it up themselves, so first dragon they've lost in the series, and the question is, with Killikin getting pushed in by this Xerath, can they even contest?
It's a tough question for sure. In4 doesn't have TP going back to base right now. And we'll need to see if Lucent wants to just go for it with no cryo in that bottom lane. They look pretty wary going into that river, but look at the gold right now. Pretty much just 500 to 600 gold between them both. Viperio, they've got money on Kaz, they've got money on Johnny Rico, scaling up in 4. Has actually lands a death sentence on a jump forward. Rocket up onto Vanguard, stuns from that solar flare, and can it get the kill? The last one is there. The shot for Kaz gets the killing spree, and Zerg is forced behind the tower. Here comes Xerath, forces the flash out of Kaz. He's waiting, he's trying to see where it's going to come through, and Xerath drops it on Haas instead. Johnny Rico with the stun onto Wilhelm. They are going to maybe crash this wave, but I don't think any more can be gotten.
So clean from Dom right there, managing to blow Kaz's flash, at least get something from that play, and denies the potential further dive onto the Leona. Zerg almost managed to CC lock Kaz perfectly to get Vanguard to safety, but there's a reason Leona is an aggressor, not a defender. They do not manage to keep them alive, and that will be Vanguard dropping in this bot lane. No plates, though, really going to get swung over in exchange for that play.
Okay, so game one, Viperio came up with a strong lead, but got it flipped on them by Lucent in the end. Now, they're the ones pretty much even at this point, though they are down a dragon. Are they happy with this right now? Are this what they kind of needed to get, or would you have liked to see more out of them in the second game?
I would say they're happy purely because Kaz has a lot of kills at this point, and the fact that that's an accelerated Tristana does mean they can potentially just Goomba Stomp on the 3 squishy carries of Lucent. The only problem is, that Jace can definitely clap back and one-shot you. Nice Guy Dom can definitely pump out all their DPS onto you before dying. Vanguard is really the only person who just kind of dies if Kaz gets on top of them, so while they're not upset with the game state, the fact that they haven't managed to pick up a dragon yet is definitely a thorn in their side.
Sure, they are maybe looking to try and get more done bot side here, just clashing the wave and maybe looking to get that first dragon on the board post-haste. As it's here, they've got Pry out, they've got a lot of members down here. Viperio maybe looking to set the record straight on that one. We don't see many mythics so far, a couple for Lucent, Chem Tank on Udyr, and the Eclipse on I Won't Lose, in for with the Frostfire Gauntlet, or I forget what it's called. I think it's called something like that.
Yeah, close enough. And one thing I want to look at right now is the TPs are available if we look across the map. It's only I Won't Lose that's going to have theirs in about 20 seconds. And then Infor will be left waiting for a good more 20 on top of that, which means if Lucent are really on the ball and they're really proactive here, they can force this dragon in a winning state for them.
Oh, there's a lot of members for Lucent down here onto Haas, and this is a 3 versus 2 that they're opting into here. The stun chain is really huge, and looks like Thresh is flashing away. Doesn't get killed by the Chinook. The Flare's there, and the box of Flash, and Wilhelm, can he get the kill? He can't! But Haas is sniped by the ultimate from Nice Guy Dom, and now Johnny Rico forced to ult defensively. This is a great start for Lucent. The dragon control is ceded to them.
Look at the mid laners. They're getting forced on right now. Nice Guy Dom's getting popped.
Oh, he gets 1v1 by Killikin, chased out, but Wilhelm is on the backside, doesn't have the flash. Can Killikin escape? Looks like he can. Wilhelm forced to get away. The phase rush is popped. Johnny Rico once again is so low, but Killikin is now very low, and Vanguard can take this one for free. Johnny Rico still pretty healthy. I Won't Lose has arrived, and there goes the jungler. Kaz snipes one out on the backside, has the rocket jump to escape. Does get rooted. Will he get killed though? I Won't Lose is there. Zerg is here. The dragon doesn't end up getting started. Can Lucent just take this one without the jungler?
They do have a Jhin, so they basically get to have Smite. The only question is, will Kaz and Haas put up a fight? It's a 2v3. That Leona is very, very low on mana, and it looks like it will be enough to zone Lucent off. Well, they actually collected themselves. They have the Ornn in tow.
Yeah, doesn't have a Smite from the spellbook, but all the ground has been given by Lucent, and Viperio at the end of that one get the dragon. Reminiscent of game one with these fights that just don't end, with kills flying back and forth.
My lord, and we didn't get anybody respawning mid-fight right there to keep it rolling, but in the end it does go to Viperio. They managed to equalize gold and collect on that first dragon for them, which is going to do a lot considering how accelerated Kaz is. I don't think they've backed since that play. No. I'm waiting to see what they pick up right now, as it's going to be a nutty amount of gold into that inventory.
Yeah, he is huge. Got a 1600 investment there. Actually cancels his recall again. Maybe looking to get this first tower if Vanguard completes the recall. He's cancelled as well. Knows that these objectives falling is only make it worse for him.
And the fact that I Won't Lose got the TP off first meant that Infor in this top lane was able to secure that first blood tower in this lane. And they got the shove in, then TP'd, and still collected on the dragon, so net profit for the top laners of Viperio. And if we head forward and just look at how this game is going to progress, next objective is currently that Rift Herald being taken right now by Lucent. Where they want to collapse it, though, is pretty much a wild question, because that mid tower, only about 500 HP for Viperio. You don't want to put it there. You might try and opt to get something done with I Won't Lose in a side lane, but that's really your best option considering the next dragon's not for 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, it feels like it's most useful just as a denial from Viperio, as now they're maybe looking for a dive onto Vanguard. This is not the first time this has happened. In comes the Stormbringer, disabling the tower, and Kaz has the damage. Drops very low from Nice Guy Dom's ult, but he's only got 3 charges still with the first rank, and he is going to walk away, though. Here comes Zerg around the side. Maybe doesn't want to let him get away with this one for free. Nice Guy Dom's got blue buff and the damage to follow it up.
Wilhelm.
Can they escape out of here? TP's committed. Wilhelm coming down the river. First stun goes through, but it's not going to catch him just yet. Killikin is here and pushes the Urgot the Udyr away, and Kaz is going to live. Viperio get the tower, they get the kill, they escort their AD carry to safety.
Crab is not a form Wilhelm
No.
can turn into, unfortunately, as they scuttle themselves out to safety, though.
When is he getting
end up
spirit
losing.
crab form? That's the rework Udia really
There you
needs.
go, there you go. It's just going to start taking different animals from the game. They can have ram form to imitate Ornn Ultimate. It's all coming together, really.
It's all coming together.
Alright, so, taking stock of that one, Vanguard did get knocked down in that bot lane play, almost ended up turning into a trade, just from the ridiculous damage Nice Guy Dom was pumping out with that just singular ult. Does not manage to pick up any return kills though, does blow Killikin's TP, meaning that cross maps are going to be tougher for Viperio for the next few minutes, compared to that of Lucent. Nice Guy Dom still keeps their mid lane tier 1, so they get massive control over the map, provided they aren't collapsed on, and frankly, it's looking like an okay spot for Lucent. They seem somewhat familiar. The only issue is Kaz, and that is a big issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we can really feel the lack of a Rift Herald for Viperio. They can't really break this mid lane tower. It's still so healthy, and Nice Guy Dom, the watchtower there, clearing those waves and rotating with the ultimates, is doing a great job holding on there. I must say that for Vanguard as well, it feels like he's done pretty well, considering the amount of pressure he has been under this game. It's a big change going from the, going on to the Jhin this game compared to game 1, and he seems to be handling it pretty well.
They are handling utility pretty nicely on this pick, working extremely well with Zerg to layer this CC from afar, and is pretty much just instant death for anybody that isn't Johnny Rico or Infor on the Viperio squad if you do get ran into with Jhin and Xerath on the same quadrant of the map as you.
Yeah, Haas has been forced to go for the Merc Treads this game. No Moby's Thresh, because the CC chain is so huge. You really need the tenacity to even have a chance of escaping that one. As we see once again, a lot of people tending around this bottom side. A minute on the Cloud Dragon. Viperio not accelerating towards Soul just yet, but some ult cooldown will be nice for people like In4, people like Killikin.
So, let's take a little tap through the itemization right now. Ornn, 2 full items. That Randuin's is massive. Gonna be a big denial tool to stop Wilhelm and Zerg actually managing to get through the front line onto that back line access. And then if we take a look through onto the other side of the map, that Jace does have their Mirror Mana. It's about to stack up. I believe they're only one more proc away from it, and this is going to be some insane damage from I Won't Lose now. A full combo from them can pretty much collapse Kaz. We've seen them do it before. Let's see if they can pull it out again heading into this Cloud.
Hook lands straight onto Leona. Oh, boom! Kaz gets the dominating. Goodbye, Leona. Rift Herald has been summoned in the mid lane, but Viperio with that first kill are free to just burn it down. That's the dream start for them around this dragon, and it looks like they should be poised to sew this one up, as now they've got full control, and the big engage tool from Lucent is gone.
The only thing that can really go right for Lucent here is Wilhelm getting a flash steal, or just trading the ults to try and steal it with the big AoE.
Wilhelm comes over, but just too late. Johnny Rico picks it up, and now Wilhelm's stuck in the pit. There's no Thresh to get you out this time. Has to flash. Johnny Rico, docked pretty low. I Won't Lose has a lot of damage, and the Xerath charges forces the Stormbringer in defense, but they've already got the Dragon. They got the kill. They don't need to hang around. Kaz actually dropped very low, but man, it's I Won't Lose falling. Actually, a shutdown. Vanguard picks him off on the backside. Can they get more? Killikin forces him to flash away. Wilhelm gets the failed flash out of pass, and Johnny Rico, I feel, is too low to keep this one going. Viperio, why are you still fighting? You gotta get out of the river. All of your members are gonna fall if you just let them hang around there. Lucent forces another flash out of the Orianna, and In4 skulking away on the bottom end.
Wilhelm on this Udyr being so big in that fight, just chain stunning through everybody. The utility of this Udyr outweighing the damage Johnny Rico can pump out on the Volibear. Equal KDA, but in that fight, the bear was certainly in Wilhelm's favor. They do not secure the dragon, but they come out so big in that fight, managed to pick up a decent amount of gold, and we saw there, it was just Nice Guy Dom and Vanguard barraging over the back of that dragon pit at everybody that tried to hit their bear.
Yeah, critically, Vanguard picked up the shutdown onto Kaz. That would have been a massive gold injection. Caught right back up to the Tristana, completing that second item, Lord Dominic's as well. So Vanguard right back into this game for sure. But if we look at Kaz as well, he's got the upgraded Ornn item. He does have that extra power spike coming through.
Something I do want to say, though, is even with exhaust onto I Won't Lose at the start of their combo, outside of the initial Q, I Won't Lose nearly one-taps Kaz through that summoner. The damage reduction means next to nothing with how just in the game this Jace is. The CS, not exactly in their favor, but the fact that they are maintaining rough XP parity and is 3 hard squishy, no armor champions for Viperio means that this is a pretty terrifying flank potential, and with the TP changes on the most recent patch, Jace doesn't care too much about coming out of them with more movement speed, but the fact that teleport now has a lower overall cooldown definitely favors them on this Jace.
Yeah, very powerful for I Won't Lose. The man is so strong in the flank position. We've seen it before today, and he just keeps getting it done. Kaz now pretty much alone shoving in this mid lane. He's going to have to walk away. And now we did see him finally fall there. Up till then, he has been able to get in and out without giving up any more deaths. We'll need to see if Lucent can continue to punish him, as they maybe want to find a kill onto Killikin with the stuns there from Mudir. The phase rush should get him out to safety without too much trouble, as Lucent did devote a lot of bodies up the top side.
Gotta be very careful. You only need to see the Udyr or the Leona, but that doesn't mean that Jhin and Xerath are not there. The cross-map potential from the Lucent squad is not to be underestimated. They will happily kill you from 2 screens, maybe even 3 screens away, as Xerath starts to tone up and get a couple more points. Once they hit that level 3, their ult becomes near global.
Yeah, it becomes massive impact that Nice Guy Dom can have. Kaz still in the mid lane, trying to knock down this mid lane tower if they can manage it, but with a blue buff, Xerath arriving back in the lane, I don't think it's going to be happening right now. Johnny Rico as well, making himself known, killing himself in the top lane. Actually, this is a 3 versus 4 if it comes to it, and Kaz forced to completely disengage from the fight. Killikin actually, or such as in 4 TP I should say. Killikin's TP was a little further down, but I mean, all I really did was lose their TPs for nothing there. Has goes for the hook. Maybe wants to try and find something on the back of this one. Leona dropped very, very low. Call of the Forge God will get that final kill onto in 4. And now that is the Leona fall. And they get another hook onto the jungler. And Kaz picks up the kill credit this time. Has turns that play around. Makes it worth in the end. All of the front line is gone.
And I don't know why Lucent are letting them fight this. You don't want this fight anymore. Look at the dragon, it's going to spawn in a minute, just leave!
Yeah,
just leave!
They're still forcing it, they're taking so much damage, losing summoners here and there. Viperio with 5 members, but very little total health across them.
The Jhin and the Xerath ults came out at the start of that fight to just chip people down, and while they didn't pick up any initial kills off of that, Lucent stick around and both of their tanks end up dropping just for really nothing. You get the teleports and the flash out of Infor, but if you don't play the map properly here, that was definitely not worth, because Viperio, they're just going to want to funnel into this Dragon Pit. They were never going to send Ornn topside here to stop the Jace pushing, and frankly, if I Won't Lose has to TP to this dragon, there's next to no advantage gained from Lucent, and that is almost certainly just Viperio favored.
Yeah, they've arrived back near this river. Here comes the Jace TP. Nice Guy Dom is in the bot lane right now. Does have those available. Oh, a big chunk of damage onto Kaz. The shock blast threading through the team members. But he is going to be able to heal that one up pretty easily, I imagine. Nothing too much achieved just yet. Now, here comes the 5 versus 5. Out comes the Xerath ultimate, but doesn't land a single charge. That is pretty big. Kaz now, happy to start off the dragon with Johnny Rico over there, and there's no contest from Wilhelm. The dragon is going to be taken, but how is the fight going to play out afterwards? Lucent with their frontliners, trying to see what they can find. Call of the Forge God knocks up Zerg. Once again, they're focusing onto this Leona, taking up a lot of damage though. Kaz onto Wilhelm, trying to get this jungler down. This fight is split across the river. Kaz rocket jumps forward, gets that first kill. Can he get the resets? Has no hook lands. Death sentence goes wide, and Viperio, they get the dragon. I think this is all they needed.
I feel like we've seen this episode only about a minute ago for Lucent. Their tanks are gone, and now they can't really do much. Zerg coming off of the base, but frankly, they're just left there scratching their heads. They didn't manage to get big value out of the Jhin and Xerath ults at the start of the fight. And the problem for Lucent's comp is they are so reliant on killing specifically Kaz and Killikin. If they do not kill them first, it does not go well. And that is why, if we look at how Viperio are approaching this game, as long as they can keep Kaz alive and just pick off the first tank that steps up, it's going to keep going in Viperio's favor.
You're absolutely right. If we compare it to the first game, where Lucent are just almost losing fights, but they have a Vayne and a Ziggs scaling in the back pocket with Ornn, now they're just almost losing fights with no scaling in their back pocket. This is just going to get worse and worse for them.
Indeed it will, and as we look through once again, Johnny Rico on this volley bet, getting a lot done with the ridiculous objective secure potential on this champion. The fact that that Sky Splitter now offers up to 750 damage on these dragons, combined with the Munch and the Smite, it is edging on new levels of objective secure for this champ, which makes it so hard for Lucent to get these comeback plays. You can't just contest with the Ziggs ult again, you can't just contest with Xerath ults in this case, and it means that you really do need to actually take a straight up fight, and against the much beefier tanks of Ornn and Volibear, that's not a real viable strategy.
No, it's just not going to pay off the later this gets, as now the tending around the Baron vision. Viperio did have decent control of this area before. Wilhelm run out of town pretty easily there. Rengus on this bot side without TP right now, and maybe Viperio just want to take control and start it up, who knows?
I know for a fact this Jace doesn't have TP, it's closer than it should be, but right now they're getting on the objective. There's nobody really to watch from Lucent. It's just if Zerg can get in the pit, or how many ultimates can they burn here.
Here comes the poke from the Curtain Core and the ultimate once again. Basically nothing achieved from the Xerath and Jhin ultimates there, and now Viperio are going to feel so much more comfortable. But do they want to go for a fight? Do they want to go for the Baron? It looks like they're not comfortable forcing the flip, and they are just going to get back to that mid lane.
The thing is, because Lucent haven't got these Cloud Dragons, they don't get to just use these cooldowns with no cost. Can we take a quick look just before it looks like anything's going to happen at the Xerath ultimate cooldown? I just will see how long that is, because this is the real pivotal one for seeing, like, what is the total, Matt? What, going on a minute and a half? Looks like
a little higher.
That's quite a lot of downtime right now for Lucent to not be able to get away with these contests, and it looks like Viperio, they gotta take advantage of that fact.
Yeah, I mean, with the shields even as well that Haas and Killikin can offer for Kaz, it's not really going to have that much impact just yet on 2.5 items. We are going back to this Baron pit right now, and they haven't found a stun onto Haas, and Rengus is the one who can truly damage that backline. Viperio don't want to flip and throw this game away. They know they've got the scaling. They know that the late game is theirs if they can just keep control of this game.
Looks like that Cyrilda's Grudge has been picked up for this Jace. Is going to do a bit more towards enabling the actual landing of these Xerath and Jhin ultimates heading into the next portion of the game. Right now, Nice Guy Dom very close to that level 16. If they can tag over to that before the next Cloud Dragon fight, they are going to be an absolute menace. We see I Won't Lose is the only person currently at that point, which means that they are the person that you really need to be getting stuff done for Lucent. They need to be pressuring side lanes. This is good stuff here. Get pressure. Maybe if they can kill that tower a minute before the dragon is up, that can unlock the map. Let Zerg get some deep vision in, and maybe then they can collapse and go for another play.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, even if Viperio are scaling up and getting the late game, if every time they try and do something they're poked off it, they can't ever actually win the game. They are, however, choosing to start up the Baron once again. Rengus with the TP is going to show up here, but the rest of Lucent a little behind the curve. Here comes the Xerath ultimate dropping onto Kaz. Gets quite a lot of damage with Rengus there actually, and Viperio peel off once again, but can anything come of this one? They're happy to just peel off the ults on cooldown once again, and that's really not that much gain from Lucent.
They basically just take them off of the objective, and that's about it. But the problem is, you can't send anybody to take this dragon. Nice Guy Dom is the only one with TP, and a Xerath sure as hell can't solo out that dragon in any reasonable time frame.
Oh, but Haas gets dropped so low. Rengus with the flank gets that opening kill. Now Viperio, they have to go forward. They get onto Wilhelm and grab them up. Kaz still pretty healthy. Killikin escapes with his life as well. And now the fight is split. Vanegod is so far away. Viperio are the ones together. They actually flash, get on top of I Won't Lose. In forward, can they follow up? There's so much damage falling back, and Johnny Rico is actually the casualty here. Kaz is back in, gets the shutdown onto Rengus, and they will pick up the win eventually. But it's very, very difficult for them now. What objective do they want?
Smite
what kill do they want? Goes in for the stun, gets damage, doesn't get the reset, Joe, and now Jhin can root him up. Like Kaz, you are in a bit of danger here, my friend. In for another Q lands onto the Tristana, and you've got to let this fight end. Just go get the dragon, buds.
About 20 seconds left on that Xerath ultimate. It looks like they are not going to be level 16, but they will be able to TP if they want to contest this Cloud Dragon. No blue trinkets available, though. You have no idea the HP of this objective, and it looks like they're just going to let the soul go away, which is frankly not the most massive thing in the world, but pretty scary when you look at Johnny Rico.
Yeah, he is going to be real fast running around these fights. In 4 as well, can get closer in for that CC follow-up. Killikin with Phase Rush, with Shockwave, ult speed up is going to be super hard to pin down. That's really useful when you're dodging Xerath ults.
Frankly, the only reason that fight was as close as it was because I won't lose in the backline.
Yeah,
they
man.
got the TP flank in, managed to one-tap Haas, and forced Killikin to use the Shockwave defensively and flash away. Ridiculous amount of value from this Jace coming in there. Does not get more, though, when Johnny Rico comes over the wall. And last thing I want to talk about here is if we look, it's Ludens for Xerath this game, not the Liandry's, meaning that front line really has nothing threatening it if you're Viperio.
Yeah, he's got the Void Staff, I suppose, but Xerath is not a tank-destroying champion. That's not the archetype he falls into, whereas Ziggs can fulfill that role. We still see Kaz getting chunked so heavily by Rengis, but he's got the healing now. He just heals up all of that damage, and actually Rocket jumps forward to try and get his revenge, and there goes Rengis! Kaz jumps into the backline, just about escapes all the Xerath ultimate charges, and this is, I think, Viperio's key to get this fight won. Now they're swarming over the jungle. Curtain Call comes through to stop them a little bit, but Nice Guy Dom has nowhere left to go. The tanks are going to take him down. Haas with the shutdown. Shockwave completely whiffs, it must be said, but with those two dead, maybe the Baron is what Viperio want here.
Wilhelm does not have the smite available, does have the flash. I do not know about any other way they can get vision. Nice Guy Dom, TP 40 seconds, not going to be up. I won't lose dead, no TP. Looking at right now, Lucent, give away this actually. Not even going to attempt to contest.
I think it's the right call. I don't know how they could even get in there to make that happen. So Viperio, now this should be the situation for them to walk this through from the victory. They've got the scaling, they've got the gold lead, they've got the Baron Soul, the Baron and the Dragon Soul. Everything in this game is in their favor. Now all they've got to do is demonstrate that they can close it out.
It was something, though, that Viperio couldn't do last game. Scenario a bit different this time, and as we head into it, though, only a 3k real difference in the gold. The itemization is really where it matters. When you take a look down, we actually have the Mercurial Scimitar available for Kaz, so they can QSS themselves out. Haas just going fully into the I'm going to funnel all the HP I can back into you on this Thresh. Basically an enchanter with this Locket plus Redemption combo. Yeah. So it is just on Kaz. This is the person to watch. They're the only person that has the agency. Oh gosh.
Yeah, Phil getting stressed out here, trying to catch all the fights going on right now. Zerg is forced to flash away. Haas hook will go wide. Kaz, having taken that bot lane tower, is going to just get that push still going. So no kills, but Viperio pressuring onto the base right now. Lucent need to find a way back into this game post-haste, or they're going to be looking at a loss in a third game in this series.
And rightfully stressed as you look at this Tristana with the cannon looking down at you. Big range now. They can almost get to the point where they can threaten these towers without stepping to get hit. But Vanguard right there, the real tower, as they're pressuring down here.
Oh, Nice Guy Dom lives on a sliver in that mid lane. TP's coming through from In4 to support this fight. In4 is going to have a good line into this one with the Call of the Forge God. Haas doesn't land, but Kaz leaps over the wall, but walks into a stun, and he gets shut down. That's critical. There goes the base destroying power. Kaz, you didn't need to do it.
And Vanguard, though, does die to the Tristana bomb on the side, though, so it's just Nice Guy Dom with regards to wave clear. I won't lose, cannot do that much, but it's Baron buff against an AP mage. You do not shred these waves.
Oh, I won't lose, trying to do something to In4, but he is absolutely unkillable on this front line with a double shield combo behind him. Free to go where he pleases. Haas lands the death sentence into the box, forces the flash, and I won't lose, and the shockwave will not connect, but Johnny Rico is back in the fight, and there goes Rengis. The mid inhib's gonna fall, bot tower as well. Look at the death timers though, Jin is still dead. Rengis has a long 50 seconds to wait.
This will certainly be double inhibs. The question is, will they just retreat? And I think that is the right decision with Elder Dragon up in a minute 40. The amount of pressure now on the map, if you are Lucent, is palpable. You have to clear through double sets of supers from this mid and bot wave, and frankly the top isn't exactly doing much for you here. You've got to manage to somehow assert any level of pressure, get vision out in your own jungle, and then come back out and do it all over again to get dragon vision. Look at what is left behind for Viperio. So much just leftover vision in that bottom side of the map. They can just wait here and let you walk into your own doom for Lucent.
Yeah, it's very tough to navigate for Lucent at this point. Their comp has, I think, definitely peaked and is going down the other side of that roller coaster, whereas Viperio's is still going up. The Ornn items are still coming through. I think they now have all of them on deck, I believe. So they're going to have all of those big power spikes with still more items to complete. We saw in 4 how unkillable he was, just like Rengis last game. He's still got he's still got 1 uncompleted item in his inventory.
And one other thing to note is they have picked up the Knight's Vow on the Ornn to pair up, presumably, with Tristana in these fights.
I hope so.
Potentially enabling Kaz, as the forbidden item is picked up for the control ward storing on Haas. Zerg is dead.
Oh, he is completely and utterly dead. TPs are coming through. Wilhelm having a wee look-see, but it has nothing to offer here. Here comes the Call of the Forge God, and Wilhelm is not going to get hooked, actually, but get knocked up. Killikin on the other side has found a kill onto the Xerath, and Kaz going forward with the kills, with the resets. It's a double kill for Kaz, and Johnny Rico finds the kill onto Wilhelm, and that is going to be it for Game 2. Viperio change up their draft. They come out with the same controlled style, and they're going to even this series up. No one is going to make it easy for the other when that grand finals is the prize.
Absolute dominance throughout this game. It was back and forth in the early, but as soon as Viperio got a hold of their plan, they never let go. They did not let a chance for Lucent to get back in this game. There was no Baron Elder recovery, there was no chance for flipping, and it was just closed out cleanly on the back of Kaz's Tristana.
Yeah, it was closed out clean in that last fight. We'll ignore the jump over the wall into die, but it's Kaz. He's got to have 1 per game, at least. And the rest of it was pretty good from the Tristana. He wasn't getting picked off by the Xerath ults, and at the end of the day, that does just kind of come down to your footwork.
And there was about 3 times right there when it looked like they could die, and Nice Guy Dom was just barely unable to hit them on every single one. The sidestepping from this ADC, good stuff. And we actually see Lucent now, with the choice of side, first time in the series, opting for red side.
Yes, so we're going to have a mix-up, a different final counter pick, but it does give Viperio the option for that B1 power. Wilhelm took the Udyr both times, 1 win, 1 loss, and honestly, didn't really seem like a main player in either of those games. Maybe Johnny Rico just B1s the Volibear at this point. He seems to be very comfortable here.
They are clearly taking the matchup in its stride, and they are using it to the best they can, frankly. Just by the fact that they got outscaled in the first game, did not underestimate how much they got done with it, and they are just a force of constant pressure you need to be careful of. They are really the main person that coming into the next series, I would like to see Lucent try and just disable, because unlike the first game, Johnny Rico actually got to get stuff done in the first few levels, which made it pretty troublesome for Lucent to skirt by in the early game.
Yes, troublesome it absolutely was, and we're going to have to go into a short break now before the last game of this series comes through and concludes at 1 apiece. It is anybody's game. Everybody, you know you've got to stay tuned.
Oh boy, it is our final game of the day. Lucent versus Viperio coming into it 1-1 apiece. Lucent, they're on quite the journey for today. This is their, fifth game coming into it, and it is a pressure valve waiting to burst.
Yeah, they have had a journey, to be sure. It's been a roller coaster. It's had its ups, it's had some downs now. Finally, Viperio brought that 3-game winning streak to an end, and Lucent are going to have to regroup, recollect, and try and get this series sewn up if they possibly can. But the draft adaptations that Viperio made really seem to work out for them.
So let's do a little bit of a recap for everybody just tuning in now. In the first game, we saw Lucent manage to pull ahead by Viperio opting for a somewhat early to mid-game draft. They managed to secure the Infernal Soul, looked all clean, but they couldn't end out. And then just slowly the ticking clock of Lucent came online. The Ziggs and the Vayne, got the Elder, got the Baron twice, ended the game on the second run through. And then in the second one, we saw some minor switch-ups really tilt it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think the biggest difference that I could see was the impact that Nice Guy Dom Ziggs is having on the game versus the impact that Nice Guy Dom Xerath is having on the game. It was a very, very different story. Killikin just going into the Orianna both times and had some good shockwaves both times and just kind of seeded the lane and farmed it up pretty well. But without that extra threat from Nice Guy Dom, it really felt like Lucent just didn't have enough to kind of push them through and win the game and win the fights.
Just a little bit too much interactivity when you're playing against that Xerath. Just close enough range that you can actually get shockwaves, you can actually engage with the Volibear. And that is another pick that as we head into this game, it's going to be interesting to see. We have the first time now where it's going to be Lucent taking the red side of their own volition now. They get the choice, they opt for it. So what counter pick are they saving for fifth?
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? We saw a lot of priority put on similar picks for Viperio. They were like taking the Orianna blind every time. They were taking the Volibear. Lucent was prioritizing the Udyr very hard, which is now 1-1. So we'll need to see if they try to get something better instead. In 4 is going to be the first pick, at least by order. So we'll need to see what he wants to go for. But here come the bans coming through. The TF still not allowed.
And also that Xayah, this time taken off straight away. Kaz was pretty big on it in the first game at least, and especially in the match between Viperio and Lucent last week, where Viperio came out on top. This Xayah taken off the table and is almost forcing the likes of Haas to actually play a more defensive pick like the Thresh, as opposed to that Blitzcrank we saw in game 1.
Yeah, and Haas looked super comfortable on it. The Thresh has been a power pick for him as well. Looks like Viperio still letting Wilhelm get his hands on the Skarner. But I imagine the Ziggs ban will come through once again. I don't think Killigan's going to take it away, and that seemed to work out very well. But the option then is I assume Killigan then just goes back into the Orianna and says, well, without Ziggs, you can't beat me. And Nice Guy Dom, he hovered the Zillion before. You mentioned the Zillion, like maybe Zillion Vayne can be a combo they can bring back, and that might give him some more agency.
Zillion certainly looking better as this draft goes on, because a key focus has changed. Both teams were banning out mostly junglers, and if we look at it right now, only one taken off the table. Key ones to look at still, Hecarim and Lilia. The two that have really ruled the jungle up until this patch when, well, with Udyr, who's just been prevalent since the start of the season, but including the Volibear, who's now in the mix, there's actually quite a few options as that Ziggs is gone.
Yep, and it's gonna, let's see what Lucent choose to round it off with. Obviously the first pick has been used on the jungler both times so far, and Johnny Rico, once again, like, he had a decent early game, but the Volibear definitely faded back into the background again. It's just that time it was Viperio with the scaling carries that are able to bring it through. So neither of the junglers have ever really been the star so far of this series, and they're actually taking the Thresh away, so all junglers available.
And that is leaving Kaz in a particularly different spot. They have always had an insurance policy in this game. Yeah, they first had themselves on the Xayah, then they opted for having a Thresh by their side. And in both those games, they got a decent amount done, more so in the last one on their Tristana that is still on the table. But we do see a very, I'm going to say not defensive, but a very passive Orianna first pick. Doesn't give anything away, and also means that they get to keep jungle counter for Johnny Rico, ideally.
Yeah, they're going to hold on to that one for sure. Killikin's Ori has looked great, and, well, Wilhelm, if you leave the bear up, he's going to upgrade it to a real bear, not just a spirit of one now, with the volley taken away.
They are ready to play this one. They did pick it up against London in a game they won, and there is the Zilean into the Orianna this time. There it is. Expect a potential Vayne picked up as their third pick, and frankly, it doesn't even feel like they've saved that one. It seems pretty obvious now you'd want to lock in Vayne, and the real question is how many Viperio players are going to hover Vayne as BM?
Yeah, I mean, they don't seem to be doing it this time. I think they don't actually want it to happen. They maybe see like, oh no, Zilean Vayne, I don't...
Ritual.
Please don't actually. It's not a joke anymore. And they're actually just going to take the other side of the matchup. So Johnny Rico says, OMS, maybe you were just misplaying it, Wilhelm. I'll show you how it's done.
And there it is. The Udyr now taken other way around in this jungle matchup. It is going to be Johnny Rico, like you say, making a statement again. And Viperio have been all about that in this series. And what is the question? Will they lock in an AD pick potentially? And leave that here. Oh,
I thought they were going to actually do it. I thought they got me. They baited me. But it is the Tristana. So they're going to go back to that success from game one. And I mean, if it's the Vayne lock-in, which I kind of assume it is, how is this looking now for the bottom lane?
As far as the bottom lane goes, it is really what supports you want to pair it with. Because the Tristana, bit disgusting early game. We got to see it while there was a fair bit of punishing happening. Now, it's how many aggressive champions can you get rid of? Because key, if you look at it, there's Leona, there's Nautilus, there's even Rakan. These are all champions that need to at least be considered, if not taken off the table, because paired with Vayne or paired with the Tristana, pretty disgusting rundown potential.
Yeah, very much so. Both teams have pretty disgusting rundown potential so far. And there's the Nautilus taken away first. We do have the top laners, of course, being left very late as usual. I mean, technically Rengus could take a Volibear, but I really don't think that's the case. And there's the Lulu taken away. So get some of the usual Enchanter combos out of the pool.
That Lulu's a really significant one to get rid of because for the past two games, Lucent have actually had to ban Malphite. This game, their comp isn't really broken by it as much as the previous ones, but Lulu would have been a potential answer into that because she can at least offer the defense to the Vayne if they do jump in, but they kill it anyway.
So, Infor's Malph has been banned again, but something I'm seeing is still available is the Rel pick. This is like the usual Tristana combo, is it not? And is that not potentially very dangerous for Lucent, because I don't think Vayne Rel is a combo. I mean, maybe it's just so good you could pick it anyway, but definitely optimal with the Tristana.
Completely agree, and then the thing you need to consider is, okay, well if Vayne Rel isn't all that, how's Vayne Alistair? How's Vayne Seraphine? These kind of champions, the ones you need to pick that potentially answer it, and neither of those really sound like something Vayne particularly wants. She just wants something, maybe even Janna. That's probably the one that actually does spring up as a potential answer, but
Zilean
that would all
Janna.
hinge. There you go.
Toxic.
That would hinge on a counter pick being left open for top, and it looks like they're not even going to opt for that. They're just going to hover it and potentially lock the Rel. There it is.
Yep, they're just gonna make it their own and go for Zerg Rel. So, what's Tristana gonna go with now? You mentioned the Janna as well, just as a Rel counter, but Tristana, I think, normally prefers someone who can help set them up.
And that instantly, if we narrow down those possibilities, jumps to Alistair. Will Haas play it, or have they got something special in the pocket? I don't think their Blitzcrank is really what you hope for this game, but there are good targets on the other team, as it will be that Seraphine, finally, showing herself in this series.
Yeah, there's the Seraphine now, and still a flex that we will find out pretty much now which lane it's going to be in, because they're both picking at the same time. We don't know just yet. I mean, well, no, they've got Orianna, of course, sorry.
It could go top.
It could technically go top, but I am kind of inting right now. So, yeah, so that's the Seraphine Tristana bot lane. So the ult combos are huge, but in terms of lane presence, you can't really like step up aggressively on a Seraphine to take control of space. Here's the Gnar locked in top for Infor.
Alright, so Malphite off the table, Ornn off the table. I am once again asking for somebody that can hard force onto the enemy team. That is a very different way to go about it for I Won't Lose. That is a pretty hardcore pick to pull out right there, and I think I actually prefer it to the Jace potentially, because poking down a Orianna Seraphine comp seems tough, so this is quite the challenge that they are putting on themselves this game.
Yeah, I mean, Rengus's Jace has looked nutty a lot of the time, but we saw last game when they had so much shields, they had Kaz just getting shielded by Orianna, by Haas, but able to kite back, and Rengus was doing good poke, but it wasn't able to really get anywhere. Now, of course, they do have much more hard engage. They've got Rel, Zilean, Volibear. They can maybe get the poke and then actually follow up the fight afterwards.
And the Serpent's Fang item did get added this season and has recently received buffs, but one thing that you want to look at, though, is Jace, if they're solo laning into Gnar, they gain really no benefit unless they go for an early Sterak's, so this is a pretty strange game heading forward for how Lucent want to try and conduct themselves, and I'm just trying to question to myself who actually wins early, because Wilhelm, like we saw, the Volibear usually wins these early game skirmishes in the jungle, so that's good for them, but Orianna could get the push in onto Nice Guy Dom, so Johnny Rico could get a lot done, and frankly, this game's just a bit more up in the air than the previous two.
Yeah, that's what we love to see. We love to see a series going 1-on-1, and after drafting game 3, we don't know who's going to win. We have no... Flip it. Flip the whole dang series. Why not? So, you said it's kind of hard to tell who's going to get ahead this one, and if we look towards the late game, which has kind of been the defining factor of the series so far, you've got Tristana can match the Vayne. You've got Orianna matched by Zilean. Orianna maybe scales a little harder, but they both are like this big circle of we just won the team fight inside this circle champions. So I couldn't really split this teams as to who's going to come out on top when it gets to that 40-minute mark.
It's a very even game from both sides, and something to remember right now is this is the final game for one of these teams. Heading into this, whoever wins this will make their way to the grand finals to face Demise, will qualify for that qualification into the UKLC. So this has got to be your best performance. This is when you want comfort. This is when you want something that you know how you're going to perform on. So the actual cohesion of the draft matters a little bit less than normal and is more so on just, okay, but it only matters if you execute on it. So pick something you can execute on.
Yeah, just make sure you can play your comp, make sure you can play your champs, and leave it all on the Rift. Bring it all here down to this last game of the series. So, I feel like if we look at, the history these teams have, these are both ex-UKEL winners. Like, they've both been in these clutch situations so far, but I think that Viperio, for me, given that they've looked more controlled throughout the whole series, throughout the playoffs, whereas Lucent have been a bit less consistent, they've flipped their fair share of fights, they've had some really questionable plays, I think that I would probably give the edge to Viperio just based on how I see these teams play. I think they're better suited to a high-pressure situation like this.
I completely agree as we head into this one, mostly because if you think about it, you have more shields, you have more tanky members really, artificially so or otherwise, and there are more potentials to swing the fight. The only point I will say though is if Kaz dies, it looks dire for Viperio with regards to damage output.
It's ogre if Kaz goes down. He doesn't have a Xerath stun to walk into, but Zilean Bomb is not to be forgotten. If you end up next to the Rel, you're not getting away. That's how Rel works. It is a walking CC bot. So Kaz, we're going to look for the positioning here. He played the lane pretty well. He ended up coming out of lane something like 5-0, maybe 6-0 at one point. But then those late game team fights, we start to see a little bit more of the Kaz classics coming in. So let's see if he can clean it up.
And clean they will need to be as we are getting ready for this one. I want to just take a look at how both junglers actually approach the other end of the matchup, because Wilhelm has been on the receiving end of this Volibear for both of their games against Johnny Rico, and it has been pretty fun to watch, at least, just for me, seeing how Johnny Rico has managed to get a lot done, always been mirroring the pathing, actually managed to get objective lead. Only thing is, last game, unlike what Viperio typically get, they did not secure the first dragon. So, considering now, at least with regards to skirmishing, Lucent have the stronger jungler, it's going to be an important note to see with regards to this bot lane if Tristana can get that push and try and nullify this bear, or if it's just going to be them trying to build up that early lead and snowball, which we really haven't seen from Lucent yet.
Not really so far, is it? We saw the same jungle matchup played out twice in the first two games, and as you say, Johnny Rico and the Volibear was kind of coming out on top. He has the skirmish heavy champion, he's designed to win that one. Is the correct call for Johnny Rico or for the Udyr in any of those scenarios just to avoid the Volibear and just try and get something elsewhere? Because we did see them scrapping both times, and Volibear just won both times, so just leave him alone maybe.
In the 2v2, that's where Volibear can shine, because paired with pretty much anybody else on the team, even the Zilean, that's enough to one-tap a single member in just the early to mid-game. So it's at that point where Udyr almost wants to avoid Volley. Maybe in bot fights it's a bit better because they can get triple stun value, whereas Volley can theoretically only kill 1 out of 3 people, which is worse than killing 1 out of 2. So
True.
Those are like Yeah, good maths coming out here. That's like a few times that we might see this Udyr get stuff done as we head on to the Rift for our last game of the day.
Here we go with it. Get your T-Tours out in the chat. We've got production here. We see Viperio coming off the fountain. We've had just normal 5 points, more or less. The Blitzcrank game threw a little spanner in it, but didn't manage to get any level 1 advantage. And I think we're expecting the same here today in game 3.
Raw potential aggression in this bot side. Vaingod and Zerg, double combat summoners right now. They do not have a heal among them, meaning if something goes horribly wrong level 1, they're probably just dead.
Yeah, if you get caught in that CC chain, it is bye-bye, good night, have fun for the rest of the lane. But I mean, if they're both hard committal champions, press the attack on one side, Halo Blades on the other, the exhaust is going to be pretty critical if they can get it timed to stop that combo coming through.
Once we see people start to tag over to the level 3 mark is really the point where Viperio's bot lane can actually get stuff done. They need to be pretty scared of Zerg in the first level at very least, because the fact that Rel can just land on you, proc Aftershock, that will be basically enough to rip through Kaz, or particularly Has on this Seraphine, who will by no metric be tanky, as we, for the first time actually, in this series, see somebody starting on the bot side of their jungle.
And Wilhelm going to kick off with that blue buff. Of course, Johnny Rico is on his own blue buff on the top side. They've got some vision award for each team on that top side near the Raptors entrance as well. So we'll be able to keep track of them as they go through there. But that means that, you know, Volibear is likely not going to be around this bot side early on, whereas Johnny Rico potentially will be. And if Kaz and Hass are trying to get the advantage, trying to snowball out of this lane, having some jungle pressure really helps.
Having jungle pressure and getting to come to lane early means they can guarantee get the push if they want it. The only thing is, as we said, level 1, this is when Hass needs to be very, very careful. Level 2 does not get much safer for them, frankly, but at this point, the pressure is going to be in Viperio's favour. They're going to be able to control this wave, get stuff done, and the question is, can Wilhelm actually kill this Gnar when they path up to that top side? Because it's going to be so impactful if they can put them out of the game early, because it means that I Won't Lose can actually threaten side lane towers. They were very powerful on the pick last game, but they did not do much split pushing.
Yeah, didn't find the ability to get the value there. Kaz stepping up with the explosive shot on the tower. Zerg not looking to punish just yet. Now the level 2's coming through, and it's only going to get easier for Kaz and Hass to shove this wave in and just maybe not let Zerg get a look in on the spot side.
Half mana already on the Seraphine, though, is a point to look at, as both junglers pretty much routinely pathing around almost identical speeds to before, as you would expect. And it looks like, actually, Wilhelm may prioritize going for the Scuttle Crab into top lane before the Krugs, potentially. It looks like that will be the case. Either that, or they just root on down to bot and try and take the double Scuttle from Johnny. They're a bit indecisive right now.
Yeah, not really sure what he wants to do at this point. Having a wee think about it, but looks like he is going towards that top side as well. Johnny Rico coming through, and the Udyr bot side Scuttle trend will continue.
And I think the main point of that indecision is because Infor actually managed to get a crash off there. They did not fully hit the tower though, meaning that while they got a cheetah recall off, they didn't really get the ideal one. The point of a cheetah recall is on the third minion wave. That's when all of your minions are meant to hit the enemy tower and die, so that the enemy wave just pushes back into you, you barely lose anything, and you get to come back to lane with a bonus amount of resources. And while it is coming back into them, this is a scary spot for the Gnar if they don't play it right, because I Won't Lose can pump out a lot of damage, especially just from having these minions in his back pocket too.
Exactly. You can't really trade because the minions will all gang up on you and not really make it as fair of a fight. I Won't Lose trying to get this wave crashed himself as soon as possible. But, you know, both of these players have avoided making any serious missteps on the top side. They've fought a little bit, but the CS has remained relatively even across the series, and it's been about their teamfight impact that's kind of where these top laners really show their stuff.
It looks like Infor will not opt to freeze this minion wave. Does mean that they are not going to really force I Won't Lose to blow a teleport or anything to come back to it. And that's kind of, I'm going to say questionable, because they did have Udyr immediately in range, so they could have maybe got something done there. Not going to be a massive error or anything, but just one punish not taken. Clearly both of these weak side kings just try to play to that style.
Yeah, we're looking more like game 1 so far, with a bit of a calm and collected early game, but I mean, in game 2, that was the game that really felt a lot closer in gold throughout the early and mid stages. In that game, it was Viperio looking comfortable in that scenario. This game, as we said in Champ Select, you can't really split the teams as to who this favors more, so it's probably going to end up coming down to how they play these dragon fights. These have been really pivotal moments throughout this whole series, is how these dragon pit brawls go out.
With both junglers in the area, that first dragon is alive. Wilhelm right now got the ward in the river, and crucially, watch that bush ward right now.
Ooh, Zerg goes in, forces the flash from Haas, but takes a lot of damage. Flash in to get the stun and get that rocket jump for defense. Wilhelm dropping the Sky Splitter, and there's a condemn to stop Johnny Rico getting in. But is it enough? Can he get there? The high note secures the first blood for Haas. Johnny Rico just trying to escape with his life depressed. He attacks him in proper. There's a heal, keeps him alive, and now Nice Guy Dom looking for more. Haas jumps in aggressively to zone him off, and the TP from Killikin is covering that retreat, but they've left themselves in the wrong side of town. Vaingod gets the kill onto Orianna. It's back and forth once again. Neither of these teams can just cleanly win a fight.
And when you have a bot lane 3v3, the last thing I expect to say at the end of the fight is, and then Orianna died, because what we see right there was just flipping it. Seraphine showing their face for the first time in this series, picks up the first blood, Zerg almost barely getting out, but just the early power of Wilhelm right there, and Vaingod, excellent positioning, does manage to return kill, and, crucially, is going to secure them the first dragon.
Yep, they're gonna pick up this mountain for themselves. Has picking up some farm under the tower, but Vaingod gets the kill. Does lose both their summoners. All 4 summoners in that bot lane actually fall off at the end of that one. But I mean, it's once again, it's pretty close to call. Viperio do have a 400 gold lead right now, maybe 300, but with the dragon on Lucent's side, it's not a bad trade at all.
I see you, Nice Guy Dom. I saw them just swap the Ghost and Ghost back to lane right there with the Zillion speed up to not miss out on the minions. Basically getting 2 teleports for the price of 1. And both teams should know that that happened, because I believe the chat still gives both sides an announcement when they change Summoner spell, but that was quite amusing to watch, as it means that when we saw the start of that play, Nice Guy Dom TP'd in to help out, but they ended up getting forced off. Killikin end up dying after their TP, but does manage to keep the flash on this Orianna, keeps them a fair bit safer from potential Wilhelm ganks in the near future.
Yeah, and that's something we've not really seen too far, is any attention being paid to this mid lane throughout the laning phase. It's been very much focused on the bot side from both junglers, and Wilhelm keeping that trend alive as he has arrived on the bot side once again. Zerg coming through, and there's no summoners on Haas. That is completely donezo for Seraphine. No way to get out of this one alive. Johnny Rico is here, but the damage is done.
Wilhelm playing bodyguard right there, saying you're not running back to your team. This kill is going into Vaingod's pocket, and there is nothing you can do about it. And look at this, Nice Guy Dom, with just the speed on the Zillion, manages to roam halfway down the river before Killikin can actually get any action done in this mid lane. And once again, their almost strange champion pool for Nice Guy Dom, paying dividends for the team this game so far.
Yeah, the slight zaniness giving them that edge in
go.
the draft phase, and they're making it work right now. Vaingod has been the benefactor of 2 kills though in this early game. Haas, the positioning is so vital for the Seraphine, and there was the first time we saw it really punished. Vaingod with the double is going to get them ahead of Kaz, at least in this early phase. I feel like Tristana is still going to be more powerful than the Vayne just based on how the pick scales up, but Vaingod getting to that late game stage as soon as possible is a win condition all of itself.
The real question you have to ask yourself is less so of, is Tristana better than Vayne? It's, is the trio of the double support Orianna plus Seraphine and Tristana better than is the trio of Zillion plus Rel and Vayne comboed together? And when you get to that point, it becomes a bit more flippy, because it's almost entirely execution based for the Rel, because they can be denied by both Tristana ult and Shockwave, which is scary stuff, considering that Haas can then counter-engage with the Encore on top of that. But then again, Vaingod could just 1v9 you, which is really, while it's a bit of a forehead answer, we've seen it already.
Yeah, when the evidence in front of you, you've got to respect it. It looks like Lucent are going to pick up the Rift Herald in this game so far. We'll see what they choose to do with that one. But it seems like, once again, I mean, the farm is in Johnny Rico's favor, but Wilhelm, as the Volibear, has been the one able to have more direct impact on the game thus far.
And neither of these teams particularly known for being able to actually close out the game. At least in this series against each other, they usually just leave it to better scaling team wins. So, as far as it goes, Lucent need to get a lot of work done, especially onto Vanguard. Get them accelerated. They've already got the shoes plus Noon Quiver. That does give them a skirmishing lead. As Haas is in this river, Flash not up for about 20 seconds. Let's see how well Lucent are timing this. Can they get a punish in before that cooldown comes up? Both junglers in the area. TP's up across the board, short of Killikin.
Zerg just lit level 6 as well. Haas though has the Encore prepared, and I think the Flash will be allowed to come up here. Zerg not going to find that window just yet, and they're going to just back away. The TPs will be saved for now. Dragon coming up in a minute though, so pretty soon I expect we'll see some sort of fight to get them the advantage on that play.
I imagine this bot play will start either when Zerg jumps in if they're a bit overzealous, or if Haas does manage to get a root, because Johnny Rico can happily follow up on that. The only thing is, because this Tristana and Seraphine can't really face check, they do not know if that river bush is warded, so Johnny Rico needs to lurk quite far out of their effective range.
Yeah, looks like Wilhelm and Nice Guy Don were able to push Killikin out of mid lane, and they've got the Herald drop here, so they're gonna get extra plate gold coming through. Killikin does have the teleport ready, so once they choose to back, they'll be able to show up back for that dragon fight if needed, but the damage is done here. They've got the gold onto the mid lane carries, bot lane even came up to support it, so Lucent using the pressure well.
They do manage to secure themselves some money off of that, but frankly, it doesn't seem to be the most impactful in the world because of how much time Wilhelm has actually lurked in this bot side. If we take a look at the camps across the map, all of Wilhelm's are available, and the fact they are standing around right now for this Cloud Dragon means that Johnny Rico is going to be effectively 2 full jungle clears ahead. That XP lead will be visible. They are currently level 8, they will likely be 9 off of this clear, and with the next Rift Herald on the table in about 3 minutes time, they could potentially carry that lead over for Viperio in exchange for this Cloud Dragon.
Yeah, it is going to be a very impactful soul though. It's the Infernal Soul coming through with Lucent on the accelerated path towards securing that. So the Viperio are going to have to get a hold of this Dragon Pit before too long, or they're going to be the ones looking down the barrel of an Infernal Soul.
And that is the soul that Lucent favours. When it came down to the choice between Infernal and Ocean, Ocean definitely goes in Viperio's end, because they can make use of these extended fights, the Seraphine, the Orianna, the 2 effective tanks, whereas Lucent, they don't really have that same utility. Rel, while tanky initially, does not really survive in these fights for all too long after they jump in, especially against the likes of a Tristana and an Orianna, so they really like the hit and run style for Lucent. Let's see if they can pull it off here.
Yeah, here comes the hit, but they are just going to have to run as the ultimate comes through. They don't get the tower, and Viperio escape that one without too much problem, though they do lose the Orianna Flash.
That is a cooldown to watch, as the ult for that Volibear will be on a fair bit lower cooldown, so they can repeat this play if they so choose, but I believe that was like, the first 3 times or so there's been a play specifically onto mid during laning phase throughout this series, so bit of an attention shift for Lucent.
Killikin, actually drops the shockwave onto Nice Guy Dom after avoiding the double bomb here. Has a phase rush and just going to push them away. Doesn't trade the ultimates though, and that feels pretty important. Now Killikin loses the shockwave without really getting that much.
This is a battle Zillion right now. They've got the Ignite in tow, ready to scrap next time the jungler's in range. But meanwhile, Lucent losing out on this bot pressure because Johnny Rico was just invading while Wilhelm was taking the top crab. And if we look, that level 9 to level 8 coming out now, Johnny Rico, they get the full clear through their jungle in a moment. It's going to start coming up soon, and that XP lead is going to start to show.
Yeah, exactly. Johnny Rico does not want to have any part of the Volibear matchup so far this game, avoiding skirmishes at all costs, focusing on the farm and XP advantage, which he has secured for himself. And we saw Kaz picking up a couple of plates on the bot side as well, pushing in that bot lane. So, gold still even. Lucent with the Dragons, though. We're nearing the 15-minute mark, and this is potentially the least action-packed game of the series so far.
And makes sense when you're in the do-or-die moments. You don't really want to be forcing any plays you're not confident in. And when you have a Zillion in pocket, though, when we head into the actual skirmishes that will presumably happen at this next dragon, you can imagine Lucent are going to be confident. At very least one person is always going to know, I can int my face off, but I have a Zillion in pocket, as long as they're ready.
As long as they're ready, it's all gonna be for the greater good. Now, we have taking a look at this top lane right now. We see the Mythic has been completed for Rengus there. It's got the Eclipse and the tier stacking up, whereas Infor still due to take another back, I imagine, as he's kept up even in CS, doesn't have a Mythic of their own just yet. Hopefully we'll have it, though, for the Dragon fight in a couple minutes.
And the fact that this Gnar has just been allowed to scale equally with Jace is pretty problematic for Lucent, because Jace is meant to be almost, pun intended, hammering this matchup a bit harder than they currently are, and that's mainly because Wilhelm has been paying most of their attention bot lane, lurking in those bushes, securing dragons. These do not snowball your Jace, and that means when you get to side laning, well, it might be a repeat of last game where Lose didn't get to do much.
Oh, Johnny Rico's going to get him with the slow and trying to catch him on the rotate. The flashes will be traded, and Zillion ult is used as well. In 4 did throw their null as well. So that's a little trade of some cooldowns there, but once again, no deaths.
And Viperio, the second those clocks start rotating around them, they just all back off saying, alright, it's not even worth it. We're not even going to try and tear through 2 Jace health bars, because the Conqueror would probably carry through if they were in melee form throughout that, deciding to just give up their mid tower actually after the investment of the Gnar flash and the fact that they no longer have Mega. Not only that, gonna lose this Rift Herald, and there's a pretty good spot to chuck it down, provided Vayngod doesn't die on their own in this lane. Then throwing it down there just ahead of this next Infernal Dragon is pretty good.
There's the tower trade on the bot side. Kaz picking that one up and now has started to build slight CS advantages with the time Zerk has been spending elsewhere. Dragon up in 30 seconds as well. So as you said, let's see what the Heralds can do to split the pressure going into this one, as it is Viperio early on the scene around this river. They want to get an advantage to kick this play off right, as now they go rooted in, force the flash from Nice Go Dom. Shockwave is committed, but with so many red members for Lucent on that top side, they're going to have to go over to this pit quick smart or that Dragon's going to go.
And this is what Nice Guy Dom's been trying to do. They are just attempting to keep mid-prio so they would have vision on the Viperio members. But the fact that they had to force their flash right there, Killerkin, good Shockwave, is however not going to be up for this fight. And now that that Rift Herald is going to get to push out mid for you, with Jace on the flank, keep an eye out, see if they can pop Kaz before the fight begins.
Oh, TP coming in from in 4, but he's going to meet Rengus on the side. So they see the flank coming through now, but who can get this play out right? They're going to try and stop this Herald now. They're going to give up position in the river for this one, and the Dragon is live. There goes the Herald charging onto mid lane. It's not going to get the tower. Viperio running back to the pit. Lucent, now they have control. They've got Zerg. They have the engage if they want to try and find it.
No Shockwave available, no Mega Gnar available. This fight is scary for Viperio. They need a big encore to get anything done, and it looks like they're not going to risk it. Handing over the Infernal Soul for pressure in mid. They're going to attempt the match with this tower, but they do not have tower shredding right now. This is just going to be backing off.
Oh, but it's a big double stun, and there's the commitment with the Magnet Storm. Viperio, they opt for mid lane, and they still fall down. A Shockwave catches a couple of carries for Lucent, but it is far too late for that to matter, and they are running them down that mid lane. Lucent, they get the objective, they get the fight. They come out massive here in the mid game.
With an ace before Baron is even on the table, Lucent, the first blood is drawn with these fights, and it is all of the blood just spilled by Viperio. It is a massive influx of lead coming off of that. Not only a gold lead finally in Lucent's favour, but also now they're at Dragon Soul Point, and frankly, this is the furthest they've ever been with regards to the Dragon objectives this series.
Yeah, that was, in terms of the history of trade deals, a pretty bad one, I must say. Viperio, they just tried to trade the Dragon for tower damage. They don't even get close to getting it, and they get double bombed into Everfrost, into Magnet Storm. It goes terribly for them, and now they're at such a disadvantage. This gold lead just ballooned to 3.5k.
And can we take a look at the gold numbers actually, just to see where it's mostly funneled onto, as we see I Won't Lose, main recipient right now, as they have a good 1.5k lead over their lane opponent now, is going to be a terrifying force for this Gnar in the side lane. They actually do have the phase rush this time, as opposed to the Conqueror. That does mean that they can opt for these almost quicker trades and back off, which makes them a lot safer. We actually saw before that fight started, if we pivot to bot lane, it was actually Jace getting a big Q onto Kaz, put them on 75%, and meant that they really just couldn't risk jumping into that objective.
Yeah, and that's these little pieces that make the fights slightly better, slightly worse for each team. Before it's even kicked off, end up blowing the game wide open. Lucent on Infernal Soul Point now. The next dragon is going to be critical for Viperio, and every dragon after that, they have to show up because they cannot give that objective away to the team comp Lucent has built.
And as we continue to advance through into this lull state right now, let's take a little just recap through. Let's look at the items, see what's on the table. We have double Ionian boots from Viperio. That means there's a bit more summoner flexibility. But then when you take a look at Lucent, triple Ionian boots. So they're more than happy to force these plays off cooldown with these champions.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that these teams have been winning the game so far, Lucent, it's by forcing fights. It's by coming out on top in a straight 5v5 skill check against their opponents. Viperio traditionally been getting the advantages more through macro play, eking out the advantages over a longer game. But here, Lucent are kind of beating them across the board. They got the Herald, they used it to make the Dragon fight swing in their favor, and they got the fight off the back of it, so now it's all looking like them.
He's going massively to Lucent's pocket right now. Vanguard has picked up the shield bow, and unlike in the previous game, there is nobody that can insta-shred the shields for Viperio. However, pivoting that into the Rel, Lucent do have that, which means that this Seraphine, this Orianna, their effective value is not necessarily decreased, but it's definitely hindered by the fact that you could just instantly have your entire combo ruined. If Kaz gets caught out and you put everything on them, if Zerg is timing the Q right, they could just negate all of that, and it's pretty terrifying prospect if you're Viperio to think about now.
Yeah, terrifying indeed. Kaz has really not got that much done so far this game. In last game, he was getting kills in the lane, he was snowballing through the fights, doing it all on the Tristana, but now 0-1-1, yes, a small CS lead, but not really any kind of foothold into this game. They've only got one item completed. They're gonna need to get more gold so they can have more impact in these fights.
And perhaps this is the difference of swapping the jungle champions over. With Wilhelm now having the added pressure in this early game, it does mean that Johnny Rico hasn't been able to get the same amount done. They have been the one power farming, but not actually making it to the plays. They don't really get to do much outside of scale themselves, and frankly, at one level advantage on Udyr and a 30 CS lead is not winning the game for Viperio.
That it definitely is not. But what might win the game for Lucent is this next dragon. They've got 30 seconds on the Infernal timer, and Viperio, they're on the mid turret already. They've got that down, so nothing to distract them here. They're going to come for the 5v5. Can they execute on the combo they have built, or will Lucent take another win? They've got the route onto Haz. There's the stun. Look at the damage. He's just dead. Nice Guy Dom takes out the Encore. It's tragedy for Viperio at the start of this fight, and Wilhelm wants to get more done. Pushes the team of Viperio back into the lane. Kaz chunked by a shock blast, and Lucent, I think they can just start up this dragon. It's almost impossible for Viperio to make this fight work.
Johnny Rico, they're looking for a steal. They have flash up. They're just funneling onto I Won't Lose.
What was that damage? In4 gets the aggression. There comes Zillion ult. Magnetstorm over the wall. And it's the Rampage secured by the Jace. And there's the Infernal Soul picked up for Lucent. Now this fight cannot get any worse. The flash from I Won't Lose gets onto Kaz. And there goes the triple kill for Jace. It is all W's all day for Lucent in Game 3.
Kaz doing their best to go for the miracle play at the end. They tried to pick off as many members as they could, but they just can't find them. Killikin right now fishing, but no shockwave up. There's nothing you can do to this Zillion. They just zone you off. And look over there, they're doing Baron. How do you contest this? Frankly, it's only with TPs. It's just the question of how quickly do they do it. They do have very fast takers and a great secure in Wilhelm. So even without the smite, you need to be careful if you take any attempt at this, and it looks like Viperio seeding the Baron, seeding the Infernal Soul, and this game is looking all Lucent.
Yeah, this looks almost sewn up for Lucent in this game. I'm gonna, dare I say, it looks unlosable for Lucent right here, but I Won't Lose does TP in to help them secure that Baron, has the Serpent's Fang on deck as well, the 3 items coming in for Jace. It's huge what Rengus is doing for them on the flanks right now. Zerg is feeling good about himself with that emote spam.
Can we please not look at this? I'm just losing all composure. Thank you, Phil. I don't know what... I've never seen that spam emote before, but okay. Bringing it back down to earth right now. The Baron buff is available. No TPs up for Lucent, though. Double for Viperio. Will they be able to collapse and punish I Won't Lose in this play? Because this is the weakest point for the team right now. Yes, I know I said that about 6-0 Jace, but that's mostly because they're the one on their own. So if you can't kill them with 4, you certainly can't kill the 4 in mid.
No, absolutely not. The Baron wave is now pushing in. The rest of the members of Viperio have been forced to retreat as their base is under threat. Wilhelm is going to catch Haas out and force the flash. Haas has been caught too many times this game and once again loses a critical summoner. They're so vulnerable now. But here's the catch on bot side. But that is insane burst onto the Infernar. He gets popped and even comes out of there. Kaz will follow through in the shutdown spent by Johnny Rico, but a trade is not bad at all.
That is a lot of money in Johnny Rico's pocket, but it's in Johnny Rico's pocket, this Udyr. They can stun bot, but that's about it. It's just going to be how fast can you go. As right now the siege on mid continues. Kaz is out of base now, but no shot.
Oh, maybe that's just clearing the wave. Maybe it's intentional. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt there, but Killikin losing the shockwave means it's not ready to punish this Rel who just keeps on spamming.
It's so ridiculous. They just keep clipping through the horse. This isn't how magnets work. But okay, before the Baron wears off, they got 1 more minute with it. And they have not managed to break open the base, though. We've seen biggest problem this series has been not closing out with Baron buffs, with initial leads. And the fact that Lucent actually, off of that play, effectively got 1 tower and a bit of chip on the base is indicative of the fact that they're going to need to play these next fights so well. Elder, 3 minutes. Baron, 3 minutes 30. Viperio can flip it. They have enough to shred through these objectives.
Yeah, there's been a lot flipped throughout this series so far, and Viperio tend to be the ones coming out heads in those situations. They've got a couple items completed on everybody, but if you look over to Lucent, the 3 items on Jace I'm looking at here, there's almost 3 done for Nice Guy Dom. The 2-item combo for Vanguard is insane. The Shield Bow and the Gwynsues, they are just looking so powerful at this stage. They're going to have to probably make some mistakes for Viperio to find a way back in.
Absolutely, and it's emphasis on the some mistakes. It can't be just one, because we
several.
talked about everybody has their 1 free int card as long as Nice Guy Dom is in the vicinity. They have their ghost ready to collapse like a flying ambulance to any play necessary. Vanguard actually just face-checking extremely aggressively. I'm not going to say it's a mistake, because nobody was there, but it was definitely ambitious, we'll call it.
Yeah, taking confident control of the bot side jungle is Lucent, and they're crashing this bot lane tower to boot. They do manage to clear the wave out though, and I guess they're just looking to control this bot side until the dragon comes up. Maybe Rengus is on that top side, happily shoving away, and nobody from Viperio can match him.
And it's really just with regards to hitting the tower, Jace is the longest range.
Oh, the crucial double stun slows up the follow-up. Shockwave only lands onto 1, but gets extended through with the encore. Zillion ult goes through onto Zerg in 4. Rakes in a lot of members, but Rengus has TP'd in. And look at the damage coming through on the backside. Suddenly, it's a tower dive for Lucent. And Kaz gets the buster shot, but the bomb will not be denied. And ace for none for Lucent. They are taking everything this game. I don't know if they can win the game right now, but I feel like it's basically over.
18 seconds on the Seraphine. They are not going to be able to hurt these minions. Volley barrel not up. I think that Lucent can certainly give it their best shot, and it looks like they will be investing everything. Some needs to tank for these minions. Every bit of damage counts right here. It looks like Wilhelm will be the sacrificial bear as they're going to tank up this tower. Flashing out at the end, actually. This might be closer than it has a right to be.
He dies to Hassan. That might have cost them the instant game win there, so a little bit sketchy there from Wilhelm, but they are going to live. Viperio are not out of this game, technically speaking, just yet. The jungler is dead, Elder is up in 23 seconds. If they sprint off this fountain and can get to that objective, maybe they can pick it up.
I wish I was paying attention to the Zillion ult cooldown, because it looked like what they were going for there was Wilhelm, you tank like 3 shots and then I ult you, and it looks like the ult was just barely seconds from being available at that point. As now, Viperio on the map, double Giga objectives about to be up. They can actually just take this before anybody can contest. Look at the ultimates, they're all available for Lucent though, they can actually fight it.
What can Rengus say about this one? They have so much damage coming through. Nice Guy Dom now has the ultimate. Down goes the Elder, ticking below 4k. Zerg is in. Who can secure this one? It's picked up by Blue Team. They've got the Elder. Vanguard is dropping very low. They're going to start getting kills on the back of this one. Viperio fighting back with a shutdown onto Kaz. Vanguard's going to fall as well. This has got to be the Baron if it can spawn in time. They can maybe get a lot of this.
And frankly, that is the game back up in the air. It looked all but over for Lucent's favour. But the fact that they did not go for a reset, did not take the recall and double objective, means that right now the only silver lining for them is those minions hitting Nexus Tower. The minions in the base have actually got something done, as it is forcing onto Viperio's base. They are managing to... I think it just chunks down the second tower, but it looks like there will be no contest from Wilhelm, ceding all pressure now for Lucent, as they pretty much just need to sit back and wait, because the game, I don't think, is in Viperio's favour by any metric, provided Lucent don't opt into another one of those plays in the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think that the 5v5, I would still absolutely favour Lucent right here. They do have the Elder right now, and Lucent, they've just got to wait. The Nexus Towers are down with that bot inhib. You know, that the threat of backdoors is now on the table, and Viperio have to adjust their strategy around that.
And it is not hard, or sorry, not easy even, to be able to combat the potential flank from an AD top. Jace can pretty much handle that base on their own if given maybe 5-10 seconds maximum. Especially with just the sheer amount of attack speed they can use when they have that range W. So, you really can't leave that base open.
Oh, because they killed the Kaz! Where did he go? He evaporated!
How did he do that? What happened?
Kaz had Elder!
Thank you. Okay,
we're gonna get a wee replay. Let's scroll back. Kaz, he just jumps in and goes to the fight against Diamond Loose and just dies! Okay, that's the Kaz play of the game.
But you don't get that kind of tax. You had the Elder and the Baron. This was your time to recover some attempt at money. And that is not the play to do it. They thought that even though Jace has 75% of his HP because he just dies after that, it's not enough. They don't get them. Gnar is able to do absolutely nothing to save them there. And now, with that Tristana dead, Lucent can just walk it in.
That's so critical now. They have the Baron to buff their own waves, but their wave clear lost a lot of its potency without Tristana. I won't lose. Escorting the super minions in bot lane. Tristana's going to be up in about 12 seconds, so as long as they cannot lose anyone before that happens, they'll still have a chance at a 5v5, but both of these teams now dropping the ball pretty heavily at times.
The real fundamental problem with Lucent's comp is they can't hit these towers. Fortunate part for Lucent's comp, there's only 2 turrets left on the map for Viperio. The second these fall down, their biggest weakness as a team is all but naught. And frankly, they have a volley bear to cover up that mid time. So as long as they manage to secure this next Elder, the dive potential is all but gone and Viperio should be out of the game. The real question is that will Lucent drop the ball like they did on the last attempt?
Yeah, that was some critical misplays coming in from both sides, and the items are beginning to stack up for Viperio. They've now got almost 3 items completed on everybody. Orianna actually opting for the Horizon focus, interestingly as well, so no Zhonya's, no Void stuff. How do you feel about this pickup?
It's the low econ Rabadons at this point, because frankly the best way for you to win a fight is to get a massive shockwave onto everyone, and if you don't get that, the fight's probably doomed, so I don't hate it as an option.
Wilhelm coming in at Mach 3 right now and has to drop the ultimate in defense, so not the best start for Viperio there, but look at the damage from I Won't Lose. Can they punish him though? They've propped the shield and they can't get the root, forces his flash too. Viperio getting some critical summoners off of Lucent, but unless they can get some kills, it's probably not going to matter. Oh, big shockwave patches too! Wilhelm is going to fall, he's going to live just in time, and Nice Guy Dom drops the ultimate. If they got the kills there, that would have been massive.
And Lucent, they're just keeping their feet on the accelerator, and I emphasize on feet. They have both of them just pedal to the metal right now, trying to keep the game in their favor, but they don't need to. You just need to control it. You're playing such a good, slow game. You had the massive fight in your favor, and then you were just winning it off of that. You just need to take a step back, push out this bot wave again, push out this top wave with a teleport and maybe somebody to escort them. And then you just hover around these objectives. You see Elder, minute 40 now, the setup. This is the point where both teams can try and win the game solely off of flanking wards. Double teleport available from both teams. Open Nexus, only the inhib defending it in that bottom lane. And crucially, there is a red ward in that bush. The option is always there right now. Unless somebody spots that, which it looks like nobody is going to for Viperio until it's too late, that could be the end of the game if Viperio take a fight around the Baron area and can't get back.
Yeah, this is going to be so close in these final minutes. Rengus is already on that bottom side. They're setting up around the river right now. 1 minute on the Elder Dragon, the second Elder of this game coming through. And as you said, it's so critical on the ults and the cooldowns. But maybe I won't lose his caught out here. He has no teammates. He's going to get stunned up and Akaz is here. But is he just going to die again? He goes so low and it's happened again! He doesn't get the kill. And even if he did, the Zillion ult is there. Now the TP is coming through with that ward. Killigan drops the ultimate but catches nobody. This is not going so hot right now, guys. Kaz falls. Haas has gone down and Dom is chasing down in 4. Again, it comes down to won't lose, and lose he does not. They commit onto him. He takes down Kaz, and Lucent just took down Viperio.
Nice guy Dom flanking with the teleport there, securing absolute destruction for Viperio in this series. That will be the game, that will be the series, and that will be Lucent securing their spot in finals.
That is such a massive play for Lucent. They take this series all the way to 3 games, and that Jace is so huge. I can't believe it was the same play again. I can't believe it was just the same play again, and Kaz dies in the exact same way. I was waiting for the dragon fight. That's what I wanted. I want a 5v5. We didn't get it.
Yeah, it was, I'm not going to say an anticlimactic way to end the game, but it was definitely not the expected way to end the game. With both of those super objectives about to spawn, Viperio just decide if we don't get something done now, we can't really fight them in the straight 5v5.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't disagree with them. I think if Kaz didn't get a kill there, or did even, then it makes it almost impossible for Lucent to actually play around that objective, and we might have seen the reverse sweep. That's just one of those plays that you go for, and if it works, you get faker like grades right there. You clutched out the entire game, but when it doesn't, there we go.
Yeah, there you have it. We have another damage graph ready, I think, for that game to see what went down. And there's the Rengus Jace. We've seen damage graphs like this before, but it's not Nice Guy Dom this time. It's Rengus, the won't lose master in the top side, topping out those damage graphs. A huge performance for him. We can see why people keep giving him this champion. Maybe it's time to ban it away. I don't know. This seems pretty big for him.
And this is going to throw Demise Academy through a loop tomorrow. I think they were probably expecting to be facing Viperio, as most people were, even just based on seeding. So now coming on with this great form Lucent have shown, I think with the exception of their second game here in this series, they have looked better and better every game we have seen them today, and that is a pretty terrifying prospect, as they were the first people to slay Demise Academy in the regular split.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucent surging now in the playoffs, and they could find the first players to get 2-time UKEL championships on their head. Vanguard and Wilhelm fighting for that one. Viperio, unfortunately, they were not able to get it done. They will fall down at 3rd in the playoffs. Just before we wrap up here, though, let's talk a little bit about a player of the series, and there are a fair few options for the side of Lucent. I mean, this team loves to play together. Everyone's pulling their weight.
Very much so. Like, obviously, Vanguard, they got their 2 Vayne games, and they were very proactive in them. Funnily enough, as an Ivan player, I do appreciate the supports that make the action happen, and Nice Guy Dom throughout that series was a monster. In the Xerath game, yes, they didn't exactly get to do the full amount of power that they pumped out. I think, frankly, you can run through everybody, and there's a good argument for all of them. Wilhelm managed to keep them in the game with those early objectives, especially in this most recent one, but I think for the series, I will settle on Nice Guy Dom.
Sure, Nice Guy Dom. With the off-meta pool, I don't think he played a single meta champion throughout there. Hasn't for a while. The Ziggs, who needs them, man? Just pick Z champions. The Zillions, the Ziggses, it's all this guy needs, and he is going to be the MVP for our series here today. With that, that's going to be us wrapping up here. There is, of course, one last series left, the Grand Finals, kicking off tomorrow with Demise Academy taking on Lucent. I have been Trajan, joined by Melvin Izzle here. It's been an absolute blast, as it always is here at the UKL. Thank everyone for watching. We will see you tomorrow. You do not want to miss it.